up? Let me share this video. Get this popping. Oh, not Facebook. Twitter. I ain't even playing no music. I'm just saying hi. I'm Jonathan Owens. And today we'll discuss the difference between Nubians and Asiatics, as seen in primary text. Okay. A lot of us are familiar with the political view of how ancient Egyptians seen Nubians, but not many of us are as familiar with the political or domestic view of how ancient Egyptians seen Nubians and Asiatics. Yeah, we write back, Gorilla Kurt, you know we do, but I'm going to get right into it. Ain't got no time to waste. So as we see here, on a representation of Nubians and Asiatics on Tutankhamun sandals, we can see portraits of the political view that ancient Egyptians held towards arrows up. I see my people, I see my archers in the building. The political view that ancient Egyptians held towards Asiatics over here on the left and Nubians on the right. These are a pair of Tutankhamun sandals, King Tut. Now, we should understand when we start to study from any academic Egyptological source, we'll start to learn that attestations are images like this have been classified and placed into different categories by scholars. And particularly, the images we see of, a lot of the images we see of captured foreigners, a lot of it is classified as, particularly images like these on the sandals, that is decorative, this is decor. This is seen as a political view of how the rulers of the society would like to see, like their communities to see their control over people to their east and people to their south. But when we go, this is why philology is good. On the right, on the right we have Nubians, on the left we have Asiatics. The way I'm looking at it, if it's flipped for y'all perspective, then pardon me. On the right we have what will be called nessi, okay? On the left we have what will be called aamu. So first and foremost, we should say that Egyptians left representations of how people to their east looked and how people to their south looked. Now, we often mention a problem with this. Let me get this right. We often mention a problem with this, and it's something we got to learn and understand if we're going to understand the subject. And we'll see by doing a philological survey today, we're going to have a few categories of observation. One of the things we'll observe is if can the term nessi be qualified in almost every attestation to say Southerner. Likewise, we'll look to see if the term Aamu, as Brother Reggie puts forth, can be qualified to just mean foreigner. Now, I can tell you after viewing this data for plenty of times, what we'll fail to come across is the term Aamu attached to any other term from any other direction in Kemet. Brother Reggie says he's found Aamu attached to people coming from the west, being the Libyans. I'm not privy to every ancient Egyptian text, just like we could read English, but we haven't read everything. We could read English, but we still come across English words that would cause us to fumble and bumble. That will happen in the Metanetra too. But since we got a good cast of people who help out this show, shout out to Sister Juju, you know I see you. Since we got a good cast of people who help this show to grow, we're going to refer to others and not just get my opinion, as well as I'll put well-qualified text on the screen so we can get more of the domestic view. And when I say the domestic view, we will see some of the political view. We can't control what we'll overview. We're going to look through a text corpus. But what we're going to get is more of the domestic view about, and some more or less about Asiatics and Nubians, to see what the people thought. So if we want to know the difference between a political view and a domestic view, we can look at it in modern times. In modern times, the political view of America would seem to be Americans don't like Mexicans. The political view will be pushed forward that way because of the former leadership that, at least in the time of Donald Trump, the former leadership we had targeted people to the South, just like in Egypt, targeted people to the South, so much so to say they wanted to build, in modern times, Donald Trump wanted to build a wall between Egypt, he wanted to build a wall between America and Mexico. If people in the future look back and only see political documents and the political view of Donald Trump trying to show he have control over these immigrants coming into the country, then people would only extract from that information that Americans didn't like Mexicans. But if we looked at the domestic view and the material culture, we'd start to see how much Mexican food was in my refrigerator. We'd see how much we are actually entrenched in Mexican culture, and at least where I'm at in California. I don't know what they tell you in the political propaganda on YouTube and stuff, trying to pit people together, but there is no, I don't want to say no beef, I want to say there is no, let me just say this, there is no beef between Black people and Mexicans that does not go beyond the ancestral fight between Moors and Spaniards. And see, that's the confusion some of our brothers from the other side have about their own heritage. But, you know, our people who know what it is understand exactly what I'm talking about. So there ain't no beef. It's just pre-manufactured. But if you got the political view and everything that they push for in the media, you might think that, A, Americans don't like Mexicans. You could take that further to both images you see on the screens. You could get a political view towards how that it's treated, African Americans are treated as well. But the domestic view is that we push the culture forward. Everybody know they get everything from black people. They steal it from black people, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see the differences when we look through ancient Egyptian texts as well. And again, this is a pair of King Tut's sandals. And we see images of this political view of the ancient Egyptians exploited. Now, before I go in, you know I always have to show you other people, real scholars, saying what I'm saying, right? So I'm going to come right here, go to my clips, and I'm going to come over to we're going to get it in today. I'm going to come over to Aaron DeSocia, and we're going to see a clip of what he says about elite people.
But what we need to remember...
Actually, let me grab my headphones. I'm all on the cord. We gonna get it in. See, I started this show with no music and stuff. We only 10 minutes in, and I'm already feeling like we doing something. I'm gonna start doing that. Cut out the music, no cussing. All of that stuff is out. It's time to let the page grow. It's time to let our people share with their communities that need this information without all the nonsense. And so maybe I'll divide the show up to when we let people in, or find a format that's useful, like yesterday when we was muting everybody mic and let people talk one by one, because your page won't be allowed to grow if we keep, I mean it will, if the people who come here don't want the nonsense. Some of them do, but a lot of people like this are information that is hard to get in other places. So now we're about to start talking about this political view, and we'll hear it from a Nubiologist. All right.
But somehow Egypt still dominates the narrative when we're looking at things from Egyptology, or from the perspective of Egyptology. And this is partly because we have this double colonial lens, which is something that Elizabeth Miners talked about in her work. And this means that our understanding of the region and the interactions between Egypt and Nubia are based almost entirely on a pharaonic Egyptian perspective. That for all of the pharaonic period, Nubian cultures appear at least to have been non-literate, so they didn't have a written language of their own, which means that they can't tell us about their own experiences of the world in their own words. That everything we know about Nubia comes from their cemeteries and their objects, and in some cases their towns, but mostly it comes from an Egyptian perspective, the way that Egyptians perceive Nubians and the way that Egyptians wanted outside other people to perceive Nubians too. And so this image of Nubia being sort of secondary to Egypt is something that we've inherited, and it's part of this colonial lens, because Egyptology was started by Western European scholars who somehow made Egypt appear more Mediterranean than African, that they were focused on the texts and the art, which were not something that they got from Nubia. And that in both cases, actually, it's an elite perspective, because the people in ancient Egypt that created this art and this image of Nubia were the elite, the people who could read and write and create and access art. And the same goes for people doing Egyptology in the late 19th and early 20th century. They were also from the upper class society, and they wanted to portray this particular image of Egypt. So the image that we have of Nubia is based on these two quite colonial lenses. And I also want to say here that I'm talking about Nubia specifically, but really this could apply to any culture where you've got sort of one dominant or supposedly dominant culture and another. And so we end up with images like this, where we have these non-Egyptian, in this case Nubian foreigners, being depicted as prisoners with their hands tied behind their backs, and in this case the foreigners, as I said, are Nubians. But what we need to remember is that these images were created by these elite people with a limited audience, and they were created by people who had an ideology and an image to maintain, that Egypt was supposed to be seen as powerful. And the problem for Egyptology is that that idea has been picked up by these late 19th and early 20th century scholars, and it's now become set in the discipline. And so...
I see what you're saying, James, but I don't know. What we're addressing here right now is the fact that he's pointing out that these images were created by elite. to propagandize, if that's a word, which is probably ain't a word, their control over foreign nations. Do we have to hear it again? And I want to see what you was refuting, James.
And so we end up with images like this, where we have these non-Egyptian, in this case Nubian foreigners, being depicted as prisoners with their hands tied behind their backs, and in this case the foreigners, as I said, are Nubians. But what we need to remember is that these images were created by these elite people with a limited audience, and they were created by people who had an ideology and an image to maintain, that Egypt was supposed to be seen as powerful. And the problem for Egyptology is that that idea has been picked up by these late 19th and early 20th century scholars, and it's now become set in the discipline.
You heard that? So that idea got picked up, and it wasn't really the view you're supposed to see, but that idea got picked up by the modern scholars, and now we think that that's what it is.
And so now what people are trying to do in recent years is take a Nubia-centric approach, which is trying to balance out these Egypt-centric views of the past. And the idea is that they're now placing the focus on Nubia rather than assuming Egyptian dominance or seeing everything from an Egyptian perspective. But while this might seem positive at first glance, in my opinion, it doesn't really solve the issue, because what it's sort of doing is shifting the problem to a different part of the world. That instead of putting Nubia at the center, putting Egypt at the center, we're now putting Nubia at the center, which means that we're still looking at things from an inside-outside perspective, or us and them perspective, which means that things become imbalanced, but now in a different way. It also assumes that there are these cultural entities that can act as centers, that that cultures can be easily defined. But what we'll see, hopefully, through the rest of the talk, is that Egypt and Nubia were so deeply interconnected that we can't speak about one without thinking or speaking about the other. And that the connections are really complex, that the nature of their relationship changed constantly as their ways that they interacted differed over time. And so the aim of today is to try and show that this clear division between Egypt and Nubia is maybe not ideal. That we need to take a more integrated approach to the very complex history of this region.
So that's what he was about to break
First,
down.
let's start.
And he breaks it down very well. The more complex approach we need to take to the history of the region. Let me see something. Fix this. Mic check, mic check. The complex, oh, that ain't even affecting me. All right, maybe I need to turn them down so I can go like this. Mic check. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so when we start to look at, now we know how people exploit images like this. Because they'll put this up in one of their presentations, even like the scholar told us yesterday in Anxieties about Ancient Egypt, Anxieties about Race in Ancient Egypt. He told us how they use these images to exploit what they wrote, their prescriptions, not the ancient Egyptians, but what they wrote about no, I don't use no Mac. I use a PC, bro. I build PCs. So I don't use no Mac, so I could be working actively inside of the computer and upgrading and stuff. But I didn't build this computer though, but I upgraded it. But which ain't nothing. But they would take images like these and misrepresent without accompanying them with any philology that'll let us know, like I said, the difference between a political view and a domestic view and all of the such. They just go exploit texts like these and make us say ancient Egyptians hated Nubians and stuff. So I was pulling up this in the new TLA, but I often give 502 bad gateways. So I'm just going to go to these same texts in the old TLA, right? And we'll be fair to everything we look at. I want people to know the most useful parts of, thank you, Nomad. Now, I want people to know the most useful parts. I mean, the TLA could be, let me take these damn headphones off. TLA could be useful to you in many ways when doing ancient Egyptian research. And once they get the new TLA all up to date, like I'm gonna try it again, but it's gonna give me a 504 bad gateway. Once they get this one all the way running right, it's going to be a more exhaustive source of ancient Egyptian texts that we can look over and see exactly how things work. Now, you can see right here, as I argue, and as plenty of people before me have argued, that Nehesi is not properly defined as Negro, nor is it properly defined as Nubian. But if I go into E.A. Wallace Budge's books, and this is still spinning circles, the new TLA, so I'm going to just close it. Now, if I go into E.A. Wallace Budge's book, which is why I say this is not a good source to recommend for neophytes, E.A. Wallace Budge. If I go into his book, you will see his dictionary. You will see that he defined Nubian. No, I'm sorry. He defined Nehesi as Nubian, and Nubian is defined as Negro. But right here, we're going to see, and we know how dictionaries work. We'll click into the term, well, they won't let us click into the term here, so I'm going to go. You can see right here. Behind this ain't even parentheses, behind the colons, we see Nubian like it's the second use of the term. But let's note, no ancient Egyptian, no Nehesi ever said Nubian. What they said was Nehesi. See, Nehes with an E at the means one of Nehes. Nehes don't mean the South, but as I teach more and more, and shout out to my brothers who motivated the research done on the term Nehesi that I presented about 10, 11 years ago, that gets cited all over the place. The terms about Nehesi, the Naybird, and all of these things we ignored. The shout out to the people who contributed to that work. Nessi and the Naybird. We'll see this Nay in the beginning. It's what's most indicative of the South, but not by. This doesn't mean South. This is a southern bird, which is non-migratory and terrestrial. So it don't move, it don't fly. So then when you take Nehes, you could get different words like to pray, which is, and other words. There's even a Nehes, some try to exploit, that means to sting. And they tried to exploit that with the Hebrew word Nehes that means a snake, but that would be inaccurate. Well, we kind of are left absent at a solid definition of Nehes, but we know how the language works, right? And so if we have the root Nehes and we put an I at the end, which you see a J here, but it represents an I through transliteration, and a reed leaf, ultimately, it would give it's forming a nisba out of the term Nehes to make Nehes E, one of Nehes. Now we go down, it says that Nehes U is more than one. So Nehesu, however you want to call it, would be Southerners. Now I shout out to Six Fingers too, because you helped me with this work back in the day, about 10 years ago, when we had traced the Nehesi to a modern cult, what am I talking about? Modern culture called, and it even matches up with the cognates. And let me see, I'm gonna hit y'all off with a wiki, shut up. Okay. Let's say Mahasi, Nubians. Now you see, linguistically, you don't need to be saying the Nubians is nobody else, because we got them right here, called by the same name. You see the M, the H, and the S, drop the vowels. You know the M and the N can shift, right? So you take Mahasi, and you take that back to ancient times, and you got Nehes. I'm not the only one saying this. They're geographically oriented in the same place. They call themselves the ancient Nubians, Mahas. Let's see. This article is about a Nubian subgroup in the Sudan. You see, they changed the name. See, Mahasi. So the Mahas is a subgroup of the Nubian people located in the Dan along the banks of the Nile. They are further split into two, Mahas of the north and Mahas of the center. Some Mahas villages are intermixed with remnants of largely extant Qawmat Bashari tribe, which they say is the Magi or Bisharin. Well, some say that if I click this, they're going to link them to the Beja. So it's like Bishari. But it would, and as a result today, the Qamhat Mahas, the same way they said it in ancient times. They put the Mahas at the end the same way they put Nehes after people of the south, are ethnically Beja, like I told you, who speak a Nubian language. So these Mahas, if you look at what they say, nah, yeah, we was here. The Mahas in 3 towns are largely from a Nubian descent. Now, Lobo argues that they are completely Arabized Nubians. I'm arguing that they're not. The Mahas of this stock do not maintain strong ties with the Nubians of the north and the east. And say they know little of the Nubian language. That's some other Arabized Mahas. And inhabiting the north and south of Egypt, inhabiting the north of Sudan and south of Egypt. Come on, man. This is homework we done already done. So we literally can show you the Nehesi. Right now, Southerners who've over time adapted that name, and now we say Mahas. And if you want to say one from Mahas, you say Mahasi. What's the difference? Well, this is how you form the cognate. You drop the vowels, and you're dealing with an M, a H, and an S. In ancient times, people in the area were called with a N, a H, and an S. You know there's a sound shift between the M and the N. Therefore, you can substantiate that this may be a cognate term for the same people. You can begin to substantiate that. All right. Now look, the first statement we see say 17,000 Nubians were packed. This packed will translate, Niger is going to be like to seize, to fight off, seize, and control. I don't want you to think like captured and kidnapped. But it's a rock, because if you look at the context of this term, that's the one that's always going to fall in. So the first time you hear the term Nehesu for Southerners in this text corpus will take us back to a rock inscription of the Old Kingdom, Nubia Kor El Akubia, all right? And in the Kor El Alubia, only on one rock, all it reads, if you go into the codex, you'll see there's no more text. There's no more text. It goes just like that. Look. The rear Ostgal, the administrator of the royal fortune, Sa'uib, and then it says 17,000 Nubians were seized. This pact is a bad translation. So it's safe to say one of the first times we see them referencing Southerners was, again, it's not enough text in here to even say what's going on. And I even want to talk about, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to take it for how this is translated, because the evidence in the side of the Nubians is so overwhelming that you don't even trip. Right now, let's look at the first attestation of Asiatics, and you're going to see some strange stuff. Let's go to the first. This says A'amu for Asia. Their first attestation is popping up in the Old Kingdom at Elephantine. Take that for all my Asiatics. Take note of that. We give it out good over here. You can use the information for whatever you want to do. But just know, I've looked through all of these surveys before I've gone live with them, and don't turn out looking so well. For a term that Brother Reggie would argue simply means foreigner, we have translated by the scholars as Asiatics. Okay? And here we see in a brief, this is some Osdim and Elephantine at Elephantine. You see, the secretary ordered the clerk Anu to do something and give something. There, what is with the Asian of the secretary. But this it probably would be something that they're giving to something that was with the Asian to a secretary. This text is more exhaustive, and we could probably go into the text and get the nature of the text to see what they was actually talking about. It says, live, be safe and healthy for, and it was broken off. But the secretary, then it's broken off. And your son, the only friend, Hakaib, it says, to let it be known that I have tested for him, give in the dedu. Who knows what that means? We need to go see what that means. But we're not right now. He said to your son there, to me, the secretary ordered the clerk Anu to give there what is with the Asian of the secretary. And because of this, but the secretary said, since I am the estate manager, Menchu's son, the only friend of Sa Nibi or Samat there, some personal name, of the secretary. Who, and now again, you'd have to do a detailed study of this text to even see what the hell they're talking about. But it appears they're trying to give something that was with an Asian to a secretary. Now, if we go into the transliteration of the Meta Nature, it clearly says with the Asian. Okay? Hena means with. Let me show you. And we'll qualify, we'll qualify this with the dictionary of the TLA. Hena, which occurs before A'am, which is the Asian, with the Asian. So what's with the Asian? First, we'll see what's with the Asian. This is that which is, look, with, together with the Asian, the Asiatic. Now remember, in ancient times, they wasn't saying Asian. They was talking about a person from the East. So we gotta attribute these terms correctly to see what they thought about, because a lot of y'all think the people from the East founded Egypt. A lot of us argue that the people from the South founded Egypt. It'll be worthwhile to go in these texts to see what views were held from people from either direction. So look, let's go back. So they taking something from, it says now with, together with A'amu, you see it say Asiatic. Then you go to the in. That's kind of going to give you by or to, belonging to. So they gave that in a ni. It changed it from just a preposition to, it made a nisba, meaning belonging to is now genitive. So it means belonging to. Now, do the Asian belong to somebody? The clerk, assistant, or the secretary? Well, you can see that and see, because they got the, with the Asian belonging to the clerk secretary. So I don't know, maybe that person appeared as a captive at that time or maybe not. But we see the nature of the first time the term Asiatic was mentioned, at least in this text corpus, as well as Nubian. They both seem not so good. Now let's look at the second of Asiatic, then we'll go back to Nubian. And this is crazy here because the first mention, at least on this attestation, jumps from the Old Kingdom. For the mentions of A'amu, that's supposed to mean Asiatics, it jumps from one time mentioned in the Old Kingdom, and we could go see what time period that was. One time mentioned in the Old Kingdom to the Middle Kingdom. So this is the 6th dynasty, where in this text corpus, we have the first occurrence of A'amu, at least on the attestation we're looking at now, because they write A'amu in different ways, and you'd have to look at those too. So this is from the 6th dynasty, but it jumped. You don't hear nothing about that no more, at least in the text that we found, up into the Middle Kingdom. MK. With the term A'am on the stela of Keti, I punished for him Asiatics in their foreign lands. So how do this work? Is we the only ones who supposedly know that the Mediterranean people was instrumental in founding Egypt? Or as we saying the ancient Egyptians didn't know that, and then they came back beating up on their own self in statements like this? Now, I said we look at two things. Could this here be classified as Easterners or just foreigner, where they say the secretary ordered the cloak Anu to give what's there with the foreigner to the or of the secretary, or with the Easterner to the secretary? Kind of don't. I kind of feel like the scholars who chose Asian there chose it for a reason, but we'll continue. It says, I punish for him Asiatics in their foreign lands. That don't make no sense to say foreigners in their foreign lands. He's talking about particularly who he punished for him in their foreign lands. It appears to be A'amu is particular in that instance and not general. Foreign lands here is general Kasat. Now, when they attach A'amu to locations like Retnu and A'amu to locations like Kanana, we have to say that they're attaching this term to peoples of that region. But like I say, my brother Reggie said he found those people, this term attached to Libyans. So notice the second time we see Asiatics reference, they getting punished in the Middle Kingdom. Let's go back to Nubians. First time we seen them references say they was seized, packed. But that's just a bad translation of this term, which says seized here. Let's go to the second one. For Nubians, it occurs in the Old Kingdom still. And this is weird because now we're in a mastaba of Shashat Hetep in the Old Kingdom where we see Nubians got rank. So again, the confusion is thinking that Nubians is a thing. If this was a particular tribe, then it probably would be well manifested that way or will be well presented that way. But it should be read, even though they have right here Nubian. Well, let's just read. Okay, these are the ones I was thinking about when I was thinking about these attestations. They're inside of a mastaba in the Old Kingdom. Notice that the Asiatics only have one attestation after that one in the Old Kingdom, and then it skips to the Middle Kingdom. But here we go to Giza, to the West Field, in a mastaba of Shashahotep, right, called Heti. In the sacrificial chamber on the west wall, we read the Nubian Chered Jesse. That's what it's going to be. And so if you go look into this, he's listed amongst a list of bosses. When we go into this text right here, well, they won't let me now because maybe if I refresh the screen and get it before they translate it. Nope. Because it's translating, so I could do it. But just take my word that he's listed amongst a list of other noble people inside of a mastaba in the Old Kingdom. Could this just mean the southerner chair, Jesse? It actually could. It's nothing to say that this is a particular tribe or anything. So the second attestation, the first one go from 1,700 Nubians being packed. Now, I must need to show y'all that this is actually a royal attestation. But you know anything written into a mastaba in this time period, you should be able to deduce that that ain't just no commoner. But now look, here's another mastaba, the mastaba of Nisut Nefer. Okay? So it'll be the mastaba of the beautiful king, right? Or the good king. And in this masterfy in the sacrificial chamber on the west wall with false doors, line 1 and 1, we read Nehesi Shemesh Shimsu Mer. Now they're going to say the Nubian, the retainer of Mary. This retainer is not right. Shimsu means a follower. They're going to still say retainer, but let me click through and show you. A Shimsu is a follower like the Shimsu whore. Y'all ever heard of the Shimsu whore? These were the people we know as the followers of Horus. The Shimsu whore, Shimsu Heru. So when we see Shimsu, this word retainer still means the same thing, like your followers, like your people. But it's so attached to a word like retainer sacrifice that it will mislead some people into thinking these just ain't your people. So the Shimsu, it actually say, Nehesi Shimsu Mary. The Nehesi who follow Mary. Now, is this a tribe that follows Mary or just some Southerners? It could be both, as we see. There's nothing here. Let me know, Joshua, when you have questions. I am open to answering them right now. Thank you for the questions that fuel the conversation. Dang, I hear people. So we got so let's go back to Asiatics. Because we're still in the old kingdom with Southerners. Hold on, let me let my dog. Hold up, I got it. Hold up, I got it. How did y'all do? How did y'all do? They got in the game. In the game on you? Right. Rugby. Rugby, ugly. Rugby, ugly. Let me hear my headphones. Yo. All right, so look. Now, again, we're still in the Old Kingdom with the attestations for Southerners being involved in the culture now, not as captives as we see in this first attestation, but actually involved in the culture somehow. Please mind you that we are only in the one text corpus. It's one of the leading text corpuses. But there are other attestations that one can find. And don't think you're extremely thorough with your work if you're only using the TLA and you ain't went and looked no other places. But for the sense of YouTube and, us doing what we're doing, this is a perfect source for us to see, because they didn't think we'd be sitting here comparing these two. They just put the data up for us to have. So now we got to hop from the Old Kingdom to the Middle Kingdom when dealing with Asiatics. We need to note that. Let's look into the co-text. I should go into the actual text. Let's look into the text to see exactly the time period of the second claim of Asiatics. And they giving us the province called Asaif. Okay, I'm going to translate this so we can see what that's supposed to be. From the grave 65 of the caravan of Carter in the concessions of the valley of the temple of Hatshepsut. Okay, so they're giving us this from the valley of the temple of Hatshepsut in the 11th dynasty. Now I'll show you what I mean. That we could go. I could click back to, and this is just the 79 attestations from this one rendering. When I go click back, you can see other renderings. You see? So when you're doing the real survey, since this rendering only has 7, We could do it right now in order to get this out the way. They all start in the Middle Kingdom, and it literally says the Nubian woman and the Asian says, and the Aamu says. Now, this, I would ask Reggie to look at this and see how you think they should translate that. Because you could have just found Nehesi behind, with Aamu behind it, where they was talking about Nehesi Aamu. But they translate it as the Nubian woman and the Asian woman. Again, we have Asian women here because this Aamu has a T on it. See, it's feminized. And so they always gonna say Asian woman here. All right. Oh, you Asian, have you come? Oh, you Asian, have you burst forth? Again, we have to keep the categories we looking at. Like this is a magical spell from a mother to a child. So this ain't the political view. See what I mean? Oh, you Asian woman, you have come to question and examine embarrassing you. Spit because I have found you stuck. So even in their magical spells, they saying Asian women is puzzled here. Oh, you Asian woman, I have come to question, examine, embarrassing you. May you flow out, all you Asiatic. It says, who comes from the mountains, all you Nubian who comes from the desert. So we were going to look at all these references again, but I just wanted to show people that there are other attestations. Now we could go to Setiu, which is a name, I think they misnomer for Asiatics because they didn't know that it was shooters. Setiu is shooters, but they messed this all up. They got Shetech TU. We still dealing with the TU bird, right? So that means that these people need to be related to something in the ancient Egyptian term that was Sech. It's not Sutek, it becomes that later. But just for you, you clearly see this says Asiatics here. So these are other renderings. What I'm clicking is to see if any of them line up. I'm trying to show you why I started where I started, because these are all starting in the Middle Kingdom. I went to the term for Asiatics was the most antiquitous, which was Aamu, which we see took us back to the Old Kingdom. So these Setiu here, and we'll talk about it later, they might need to fix this because this needs to be the shooters who are the Nubians who come from the south. But only after a magnifying glass scrutiny could one substantiate these type of things. And so, right? So they say, after setting my feet northward, I came here the walls of the sovereign, which were made to keep out the Asiatics. Okay, that's under that Setiu, all in the Middle Kingdom. So we're not on Setiu yet. We'll get there. Right now, we're simply on Aamu. As we see, is the most 79 attestations in here and 89 in the new TLA, which wouldn't pop up. So they found 10 more places where it was mentioned. Go down here. They're going to start beating the brakes off these Asiatics. Now, this is one people didn't like, but this is a good one for us to look over. This is the third mention in the Middle Kingdom from an instruction from Simroset. Now, not to play any bias, Simroset, since this is Simroset, he's a pharaoh, right? We're back into the political view. Simroset's political view was harsh towards the east and the south. It is because his family's emergence out of the first intermediate period, it caused harsh policies in Egypt because the people he was fighting with had people to the south that he didn't have a line on. And I could tell y'all from my memory, but better than that, you could go to you could go to an online encyclopedia and do your. And if you look up the first intermediate period, try to spend a little bit of time learning the details of the first intermediate period. What you'll begin to, let me see if I can break this down doing my thing of the thing. Hold on. What we'll begin to learn about the first intermediate period, shout out to Savannah playing hard in the rugby championships and got the rugby concussion. You know you tough, girl. Ain't that crazy? I don't be even like to see y'all hitting. But anyway, look. Simroset put forth this harsh policy towards the south, because let me show us. I'm gonna just try to break down the first intermediate period by my memory just to see how good I do. Then we'll look and see what the books say. So when we're dealing with the first intermediate period, we're coming up out of the time period when Pepi II just ruled for way too long. Now y'all can say who that was, the old pharaoh, but I think it was Pepi II who actually stayed on for 90 years and started to weaken up Kemet. He started outliving his predecessors. And so with that being happening, I ain't really tripping off the Zoom right now, good brother, but I am going to do a Zoom show, you see, because I want to start getting content up that I actually can monetize in the proper way, that's usable and shareable. And when I be opening them Zooms up, it turned into, like, people think my place is the place to cuss and do all they bad things. So I just want to let it be known I want to start cleaning up my act a little bit. Yup. That rugby hickey on that head look crazy, but it's all love. Now, Sinroset, well, let's go back to Pepi II coming up out of the sixth family. Now, again, let's remember dynasty means family, right? It was a term coined by Manetho just so he could explain to the Greeks how it went down at Kemet. So he made up this term called dynasty. They didn't have that term. I mean, I don't know if the Greeks had that term, but that term is coined by Manetho. It ain't an ancient Egyptian thing. See what I mean? Ancient Egyptians wasn't like, you from a different dynasty, homie. They like, what? That's all from the Greek perspective. Particularly Manetho wanting to teach the Greeks how families would rule in Egypt. So he coined the term dynasty to mean a family of rule. So if we understand that, we got Pepi II living for so long that he outlived, oh yeah, these headphones. Living for so long that he outlived his people, right? And so in doing so, he weakened up Egypt. And so now we have an intermediate period. Since now we understand that dynasties is families, he didn't have no heir. So some other Egyptian families that I was like, hold up, bruh. We kind of strong out here. So hold on, let me press mute and address what's going on right now. Hold on. I ain't going nowhere. I'm about to just play this to talk to my people real quick.
Black people, I love you, and I love you enough to tell you, you ain't ready to revolt shit. You don't feed yourself, you don't hunt your own animals and slaughter them, you don't prepare your own meat, you don't own your own land.
Dang, I forgot what I was talking about. When I remember, I'm gonna start it back.
You don't have a seed going in your window. So when you think about revolutionaryism, and you think about fighting and dying in the street, you ain't shit.
Killer Mike said black people ain't ready to revolt. It's a disparaging marriage and he ready to elope. Maritime coastline, deep V hull boat. Crack a nose turned up, machete to your throat. The divine snatched the arm back, she fine, she in Zinga. Moroccan mercenary got a line on Moringa. Ask Chief X to swing it. Go fund me to rock a new car or build a school like I'm Dr. Umar. Nah, go fund some more guns, banana clips and cannabis and bury it. The jackal, Anubis. I'm cool, keep them heaters and I'm in tie in an abyss. He ain't rapping due to libations, he just channeling this.
Hands down, you ain't ready to oppose nothing. You are as a part of this system as any white person.
Thank you for that brief intermission. So now we understand that for an intermediate period, we all understand that a dynasty wasn't nothing the Egyptians knew. A dynasty is, you feel me? Thank you for saying this is bars. That song is called Revolt. You can only hear it when you're watching my show. I might put it up for the people on Bandcamp though. I think I might have did that. But we all are under the clear assessment of what a dynasty is. It just was a family. Ancient Egyptians didn't know that term. Therefore, when Pepi started falling off, it was some other families. And now you can understand the intermediate period better and see how dynasties overlap. and stop thinking that it was a mess up with the chronology. Nah, hella families be living at once. Well, like I was about to say earlier, I come from a family, I got like 14 uncles on one side of my family. And we know that it was African tradition to have bigger families than smaller families. We could look at all these families. These, ancient Egyptian African families would not be traditionally small. So just think about the person who was more prolific and would have more offspring. They would be able to rival the kingship. Like, I got 10 sons that'll beat up your sons, bro. And he about to be the heir to the throne. You know what I'm saying? It start to get like that when the big family in charge get weak. So this is exactly what happens in the intermediate period. After the sixth family, once we go out of the sixth family, the sixth dynasty, now the seventh family is supposed to, I'm going to go off memory and then I'm going to look it up for real. The seventh family is supposed to, because I'll be wanting to make sure I got this memorized. The seventh family or the seventh dynasty was supposed to be fictitious. They really wasn't there. They pseudo, they fake. They didn't really exist like that. And so the way Manetho gave us that indication was he said the 77th family was 70 kings who ruled for 70 days. If you can't remember this stuff, it really ain't useful. So first let me try, then I'm going to go read it, pull it up accurate all the way. It was 70 kings who ruled for 70 days. So then the eighth family came and they said they was descendants of Pepi them. They said they was related to the sixth family or the sixth dynasty. Now we can see how all this could transpire at the same time without thinking, oh, they got the calendar all wrong, chronology, because they got these dynasties mixed up. So then the eighth dynasty said, the eighth dynasty said, we down with Pepi now. We down with the original, so we should be in power. Next, shout out to you who said, Manetho's numbers are off. Good to see you here if you feeling this type of information. Next, we got the ninth dynasty, and I gotta remember, them was them boys from Heracleopolis. I'm only gonna use Wiki to update me. The ninth dudes was here from Heracleopolis, and the 10th now was from the Theban area. But the 11th was the strongest family in the Theban area. And this was Mentuhotep and them. But Mentuhotep and them have found beef with the old. So when Egypt broke apart, what became known as a nomarch, that wasn't known as a nomarch at that time, it would be the boss of the area. And traditionally, let me show y'all. The boss of Tasseti at that time was a person named Anktefi. Nomarch of Heracleopolis. So they saying now we got to ship off of all of this because Heracleopolis is the third known, but above that there's like Heracleopolis, and we don't want to get those two confused. So we got Heracleopolis right here, and above that is Hierocanopolis. No, we'll look, but the difference between Hiero and Hera will be there in the Greek names of this place. Let me read about Anktefi, a nomarch of Heracleopolis and a supporter of the pharaoh in Heracleopolis. See? This is how that went down. So Anktefi was like, look, so let me open up the known map so we can get this right. So people can see how it went down. And now you're going to see how relevant the South is, because it's be the person who got the most juice in the South always win. But if we didn't think that the intermediate periods was also geographical, we have to understand how to understand the stories correctly. So when the beef go down, all these people getting insignificant. The only time in any intermediate periods when stuff up here start being something is when some people in Avaris, in the third and in the third and the second and the third intermediate period try to do their thing. But just let's limit them to the second intermediate period for right now, the people of Avaris. But when it start going down and everything break up, man, beef down on who gonna have control, it come down to these areas. And so what I was just trying to note was we have Hierochronopolis here, Hierochronopolis, which will give us Nakin in the ancient Egyptian term, the third known. But look at this. We come up here, we're going to have these other right here, Hermiopolis. Now there's going to be another one. Let me show y'all, and we need to just get all of these opolises down. Hierochronopolis. Now Hera and Hiero going to hook up. Hierochronopolis and Hierochronopolis. So Nekhen is where Anktefi was at. And it was a family up here that somehow he was down with, and they was about to try to run up on Mentuhotep and them family, the 11th dynasty. So Mentuhotep was the boss, because Mentuhotep and them was right here. So check gang. These fools below you, peep how this work. That's why I love this history. These fools below you ain't down with you, right? But you, right here in Thebes, you got the big star on you. You in the heart of everything. And you running that, a Theban family. Now watch this. Your connects, all your connects is past these fools. You got to get down here, and particularly even more down here, to come back up, beat up these fools who done messed up. That's Anktefi and them and the kin. Beat up them fools, that family, who done tripped up and hooked up with this family. See? So now when we go look at it in the wiki, you ain't gonna get, when we look at it in the, you ain't gonna get it like that. Well, I mean, you are gonna get it like that, but you gonna get it better. See, because look, he was a nomarch of Hierochronopolis. Let's go back to the map. So that means he the boss of way down here. And really, if you're the nomarch of Hierochronopolis, you running all of Tasseti. So this is a problem, because Tasseti ain't messing with Mentuhotep them. But Mentuhotep them people, bruh, is from way down here. So now this was about to happen. Let's get good. I need some dramatic music. So let's read. It says, and a supporter of the Pharaoh of Hierochronopolis. So he supported who? The Pharaoh way, just like I showed y'all up here. In Nini Nisu. Now you want to know what's funny? Look what the name really went down to say in history. This is why we learn the ancient Egyptian language. They wrote it a little bit backwards, and actually Nini Nisu is wrote grammatically incorrect. But if you switch this around, it says no king. The double N's right here is giving us a different form of negation. The top N, so this is what we'll learn. Two N's run together in ancient Egyptian give us what in the African American vernacular English would give us is negation. And two N's, you say two N's, you just gonna go Try not to put that in there, but basically it literally says, if you switch this around, no Nisut or no king. Now notice that, why did that name become that? I don't know. I don't know if that's connected to the story I'm telling. But I just wanted to point that out as we see that. Now look, which was locked in conflict with the Theban 11th dynasty. What's the Theban 11th dynasty, man? That's Mentuhotep now. So now we see what they want to call, but they don't want to appropriately label it in this instance, black on black crime. Because it's going down all in the areas you know traditionally and today as Egyptian Nubia. Antefi, thinking that he could do something with, look, I'm just going to let them tell it. The Theban-based 11th dynasty kingdom for control of Egypt. Hence, Antefi was possibly rival of the Theban ruler Mentuhotep I and Intef I. Yeah, he was. He lived during the first intermediate period after the Egyptian Old Kingdom state had collapsed and at a time when economic hardship, political instability, foreign invasions challenging the fabric of Egyptian society. Antefi was a boss. He just slipped. So he must have had something that I don't know this, and they won't tell us this here either. I definitely gonna tell us more than what they would tell us, but I like to supplement that with this right here. It says, the precise pharaoh under whom Antefi served is served as anything but certain, but the sequence of number of kings in the 9th and 10th dynasty is a matter of widely varying conjecture. Only a few of the main names on the much later king list have had their reigns or existence corroborated through the scattered archaeological finds. The only pharaoh mentioned in Antefi's tomb is in the following isolated inscription. Horus may bring a good inundation for his son Ka-Neferah. Some Egyptologists have proposed identifying this Ka-Neferah with the throne name as Neferkara, attested only in the Turin canon and several other attestations for these dynasties. However, uncertain, let me blow out this candle, man. It says, however, uncertainty about the verb tense in the inscription has led to disagreement amongst various scholars as to whether this pharaoh, Neferkara, would have ruled in Antefi's youth, or at the time of the events he describes. Or indeed, if it were not a king, Neferkara, before Antefi's times, who had ruled toward the end of the Old Kingdom from Memphis. So now we can see right here where he go in, and he just giving on his tomb autobiography, saying what he did. And anybody could go in and read this, but I want to keep along the initial lines of what I was talking about, because I could go off on a big tangent. Antefi hooked up with these dudes and had Mentuhotep families lightweight surrounded. I don't know why they went up so geographically high to hook up with some other people. I don't know if the Theban kings was in control of everything in this big circle. I just know they was in control of Thebes. And so what Mentuhotep had to do was go south more. And so now when you hear about Mentuhotep actually saying a king will come from the south, we have the storyline as well as the primary attestation showing the kings coming from the south. I'm going to try to reel this line back in and get back to the difference between these Egyptians and Asiatics, but we have to understand that first of all, at this time period, the contingency of people fighting for Egypt, again, we're all in Upper Egypt, going as far up as Hermopolis when the leader of Tasseti wanted to find somebody to help him with Mentuhotep now. So like I said, Mentuhotep now didn't go up into the Delta and get some more people because they didn't know them. They didn't have no line or none of them. This was all insignificant. What he did was went to the south. And particularly, we have indications of where he went. And I'm going to show you. Let me see. I'll show you on a map where Mentuhotep went by philological indications. Let's say maps. Maps. Sudan. This is the place I'm gonna show you. Hold on, I didn't do it right, so I gotta go. I'm spelling it wrong. Man, they don't want you to see this place easily, but I can show you. Let me just go on the Google Maps. This is where Mentuhotep went to these regions to get his people. He didn't say nothing about no Magi. He came back with Magi, but he didn't say nothing about them. But I know he went and got them for these reasons. So let me see. I bet. Can I get this right? Am I just spelling it all wrong? I'm going to keep spelling it. It's only switching the H and the B around. Sudan. I bet. Okay? If it's not I bet, it's Ebhet. Let's see if this is the Sudan right here. Yeah, this is Khartoum. Let's bag out. So I'm in the Sudan. Now, I bet ain't that far down. I bet it's in this area right over here, but they don't want to show me right now. So let me see if I can find this at any source that could prove it to you guys. Oh, there you go. See how that do? It's funny how my work. What did that lead you to? Because you know stuff that's just in limited places. See, that's my shout out to Kate Liska. Now look, she'll tell you where they come from. As I say here, I don't even got to read no more. Get the hands put on you. We have come from the well of Ibet. I-B-H-E-T. Where is Ibet? You read this document, you'll learn where Ibet is. It is in the Nubian desert, way down here. So who said they came from the well of Ibet? See, this is how you do this homework, man. Let me open this up. I need some FaceTime. Shoot, y'all need to see who be doing that work. Now, who said they came from the well of Ibet? Well, you should deduce that some Magi, just from looking at this isn't how you do homework. I've read this document and corresponded with the scholar. But since here we got Magi, right? We have come from the well of Ibet, the ethnogenesis of the Magi. So let's talk and let's go all throughout the genres and break it downtown. Now, archaeologists will tell you that in the 12th dynasty, y'all keep thinking it means families. That's why we mess up. I mean, y'all keep thinking it means something besides family. But archaeologists is using that way as a chronological step. But we have to listen what they say. In the 12th dynasty, we get a preponderance, not even a preponderance. In the 12th dynasty, we find an abundance of pan-grave burials. They link this to an ancient Egyptian culture called the C group culture. We need to stop and think for a moment. If temporally, even though it ain't always the case like this, if temporally the 12th family lived at a time period that was after the 11th family, they could have lived at the same time. But if they existed for longer and they ruled and the 12th, 11th family was insignificant, then archaeological finds that are burials during the time period of the 12th dynasty would be people who lived during the reign of the 11th dynasty. Unless, of course, the 12th dynasty was long enough to encompass a lifespan, which it was. But again, you should think about the burials found in the earlier portions of that dynasty would be attributed to people who lived in the 11th dynasty. Why is that significant? Because we don't find Magi significantly spread throughout Egypt to after somebody reunified Egypt. Y'all know who that was? Mentuhotep. So now we know he was surrounded by some people from the south who hooked up with some people from the north, but he won. How did he win? And well, we know Mentuhotep II. First of all, let me slow down to keep paraphrasing this document here. In this document, we have some Magi people, who come to a fortress in the Sudan that was actually controlled by other Magi people. See, when we read this stuff, we start to learn. Thank you for saying Mentuhotep II. When we read this stuff, we start to learn. Look, first of all, them fortresses wasn't no damn fortresses to keep no Nubians out. That wouldn't even work. How dumb is that? So you're going to build a fortress. Maybe you can see for hella miles, but if you have to see somebody like 4-5 miles away from the fortress, they going to be up out by time. You know what I'm saying? This whole, we ain't got it right. You couldn't just patrol nothing like that from a fortress. Now, they built big fortresses along trails, yes. But we start to recognize them with the new, and let me cite the scholar. These fortresses need to be reconsidered as trading posts, primarily because of some of the evidence I'm about to bring forward. And one of the main evidences, it's fun to talk that way. One of the main pieces of evidence is, but I play with words. One of the main pieces of evidence is, now I'm messing up, is what? Well, when we look to the south and we find that Abet is a location in the Central Desert, and then we look into Mentuhotep's attestations of his wife, Asiatics, in her Nabank, or what we would call sarcophagus. I think that's what he's about to start saying. We start to find out that there's a person or a sister. If this is what I was saying the main piece of evidence was about, we start to find out that the sister, I bet, we got to go back in on the fortresses. Thank you, memory. We start to find out the sister, I bet, was from an area in the Nubian desert that I just showed us called I bet. And when they came to this fortress, not the same people. These are other, we're putting attestations together. We're looking at this primary attestation, which is a collection of papyri correspondences between two fortresses Egyptian fortresses that was controlled by Magi people. So in order to act like the Magi, the Egyptian relationship was all superior to Egyptians, they say the Magi was police. It's Kate Liska who went in and said, hold on, something's incorrect here. The Magi ain't necessarily police. They are officials. And when we see the policing of southern fortresses by Magi people, we need to understand them as part of the Egyptian society that was doing some patrol on people on the south more. So again, about this attestation on the screen, we have come from the well of Abet. That is not Asha'at and Mentuhotep's people. When we put these two attestations together, we start to learn what was happening. So these were some starving Magi women with a few of their men. I think it was a collection of 7 of them in total. And what you're going to learn is they came to an Egyptian fortress deep in, I think it was the fortress of Buhin, if I ain't mistaken. You can read the document to get the exact fortress, but they came to an Egyptian fortress. Maybe it was the Simna fortress. I think so. And they came to this fortress, right? And guess who was patrolling the fortress? Other Magi people. So now it's a correspondence between the Magi people come out like this. Who is y'all? And the starving Magi who just wandered up with 3 women and 4 men. And this is the first thing that happened. The women tried to ask if they could get their men to work in the fortress. The boss, Magi Misha, the overseer of the Magi at the time, the Emir, you could say Amir right now, but that ain't it. It come from that. It could come from that. Emir Magi Misha, the overseer of the Magi army at that time, told his own people, it's not good. Y'all can't come up in here. But then they start thinking about it because them people didn't go nowhere. And they were starving. Now they starving outside the fortress. They ain't a nuisance or nothing. This person writes a correspondence back to the other Magi fortress to see if he could let them in. Eventually, they couldn't let them in, and they gave them some rations and food, and they was gone. But they asked him a question. They asked him, where y'all come from? And guess what they say in the text? We have come from the well of Abet. The well of Abet. Okay? Now, I had to tell you that so you can understand the context, because when you know, if you can come across some of the information I come across, you can see things how I see them. Notice this. This we have come from the well of Abet is on Wiki under a story for claims about the Magi. The Magi are detailed in archaeology as a people group who emerged about the 12th dynasty. Now notice this, the material culture of the Magi, like I said earlier, is found in what's called pan-grave culture. That means the person did not live at the time that you found the grave. He lived before that. So a pan-grave culture starts we find a burial culture in the 12th dynasty. Those people lived in the 11th dynasty. Why is this significant? Because we go to Mentuhotep II. And we know where he got his people from in order to be Antepi them. Now you start to see other reasons how you gonna know. Mentuhotep II wasn't no punk. But I want to show you him for different reasons. And we say Mentuhotep, but if we understand Montu being at his name, Montu being a god of war. So you can see why they was Mentuhoteps, named by Entefi Mentuhoteps, because they was beefing at that time. Now I'm coming here to show you something. I'm gonna go right here, slide over here, slide down here. Shout out to Kate Liska for revealing the information. And we come over here, and what do we see? His consorts. Now, all of these, first of all, women is the reason, I don't want to go too far. One of the real reasons why Mentuhotep won is because he had line with these sisters right here. Would you like to hear that presented in a more scholastic format? You could go look at Solange Ashby's work on the priestesses of Hathor. How you want it? The reason Antefi must have been a noodle with the ladies. If you all break it down, the women run everything. When you see people get set up and killed, the dudes do the killing, but the women line that up. I hate to say that like that. I'm sorry. But it was going down like this too. It was. So, in order to go back into the scholarly context, we're going to look at Dr. Solange as we speak on the topic. Golly, cats don't like nothing real. Let me see. Antefi was closer to these divine black women geographically, but he didn't have line on them like Mentuhotep.
This is
And
Nubian.
Mentuhotep, being down with these divine black women who was the priestesses of Hathor, had line deep down in the South Africa. Not South Africa, in the Kush. Why the hell you think you don't learn about a term Kush till the 12th dynasty? When people hating on Kush. Mentuhotep was a boss. He was like, cousins? I got cousins. You know how you go to the South and get your cousins? Yeah. Mentuhotep went to the South and got his cousins. But I'm about to prove the point what I said about the sisters. Because we don't watch enough of this. You think I'm making it up. Shout out Peter Manuelian. I just passed one of his courses. Let me see. So she's going in on the priestesses of Hathor. And I'm not going to watch this whole thing. I'm just going to let her break it down with you. You see, look, the first cataract way up here. Look, the first cataract is her top blue arrow. When I told y'all he had line with them sisters that ran route all the way down into Egypt, all the way down into Kush, I ain't just making that up. So we're going to listen to the scholars, man. Because they don't even understand how this really happened. And this is why cats be gang goofy to this day, no disrespect, but it's just same African culture been happening for a long, long time. Now watch this. I'm just going to go back to let her do her thing. And then allow me. I'm reading the stuff to see if it's relevant to what we're saying. And it seems so all relevant that I might just have to let. So just notice here, the priestess of Hathor originally was she'll tell you, not, and I don't want to say originally, but they always got more plug in the South, right? They qualify you, and if you know, just like I said, makes a sword a king, well, in real life, having line on these sisters would qualify your kingship more than that, because they had line down in deeper Africa. So I'm just gonna let her play this real quick, and we'll dig in. This is Dr. Solange Ashby. Her presentation is called Black is Queen, the Divine Feminine in Kush.
So I'd like to begin by explaining that this talk will be a hybrid talk of sorts. It will both be an academic talk where I will share new information about this ancient Kushite civilization and the powerful queens who are attested there. But it also will be a love letter.
Man, I want y'all, I forgot, she's covering a lot more than I wish. In this, she does such a good job that she goes all over all of the African queens right up into give us evidence. That gives me evidence that Cleopatra ain't had nothing to do with that tradition. But instead, since she's going to do such a wonderful job, I must just go to the point that's addressing what we're talking about. Because she's going to be talking about all these other queens. Look, you feel me? But what she does is substantiate the rule and how powerful these women were in the South. This is Napatian, not to be confused with Nabta Playa, but Napatian queens. And since they could get to the rank, the level of queen and stuff at about 1,000-ish, we start seeing them queens down there powerful, 1000 BC. Well, when you see after that, we find them in their own land in the dual kingdomship of the Kushites. So when the Kushites came up to take Egypt, they left queens to rule their region. But again, I'm just going to go through. This isn't exactly what she's talking about. She's showing a Kushite coronation ritual of, this is Asfela. All right, but I want to go to the parts that is kind of, and then she's going over Amani Renaz. Now, maybe, is this the same one? Because I want her to speak on the priestesses of Hathor, and she does such thorough work that she might have done a whole presentation on that. Let me see. Priestesses, and she talking about the priestesses. Yeah, there you go. This is a whole nother presentation.
Tattooed dance.
So watch that. Oh yeah, now she's talking about exactly the women I just told you. You see, so people can't act like, look, I just clicked right on the screen, bro. I love how they be working with me when I'm cooking. Y'all see me click on the screen and it's right on the list of the same women that I got on this page. Where the wiki go? Oh, well, I'll bring it back. It was the list of Mentuhotep's wives when we started, when I'm still talking about we come from the well of Abet. Remember this. But I want to show you something here. The 11th dynasty's priestesses of Hathor. These are all his wives. He was a boss. See, when I told you that's probably how he sold up Egypt, because all of the priestesses of Hathor was his wives. So what you gonna do? Who you gonna call? Ankh Tefi and the Heracleopolis kings? Now, if we go now, it just happened to be right on the page that I was showing earlier because we got Kawit, we got Ashayet, and the significance of everything concerning Ibhet will boil down to Ashayet's sarcophagus and her Nibank, the text inside of her sarcophagus. We got Henhenet, Kim C, which literally translates to black woman. You see the Kim in her name? Everybody know an S and a T. That's how you say woman. The vowels get to get taken out. So if you have a K, a M, and a S and a T in suffix, you got black woman. No one can argue against that. But there is ways to argue against it. And we can look at the glyphs and see how. But we got Sade. So there's your first Sade. Y'all see it on the screen? Sade was one of Mentuhotep's wives, a priestess of Hathor and Mayet. Now let's see what she says about these sisters and see if it lines up anything with what I'm going to say. Because now she's talking about Menkaura, but she's going to jump to the 11th dynasty. So what we're talking about is around the 11th dynasty. So let me go here.
Quote, beloved of Bastet on the northern door jamb, alluding to a geographical sphere of influence for each goddess, Bastet to the north and Hathor to the south. In the 11th dynasty, now moving
Stop.
into...
She just said a lug. Man, see, if I play this whole video, oh, yeah, it means a complete fertile woman. Now, if I play this whole video, what she just said was such a lug. She just showed you that Hathor's significant right here is indicative of the south right here, okay? So when I said these priestesses of Hathor gave Mentuhotep the line into the south, you got to say that is substantiated. Listen.
Crown, associating him with the south, just as his predecessor, Khafre, had in the Valley Temple associated with his pyramid at Giza. There, the king was, quote unquote, beloved of Hathor on the southern door jamb and, quote unquote, beloved of Bastet on the northern door jamb, alluding to a geographical sphere of influence for each goddess, Bastet to the north and Hathor to the south.
Now she did the slide appropriately right along with what I'm talking about too. Now remember, Hathor to the south. Remember the story I'm telling about the 11th dynasty, and we'll go back to what we was initially talking about in detail, but once we learn in this 11th dynasty, we're going to get all the way back to the Asiatics and Nubians, because the term Kush is now injected into the lexicon after these fights. And he got 6 wives who are the priestesses of Hathor who are related to the south. And I'm going to show you that in more ways than one. as we see Kim C right here. I don't know Hennet or Ashayet or the meanings of the others, but I'm familiar with that term. Some of these terms might even be coming from the a Nubian different lexicon, but let's let her talk.
In the 11th dynasty, now moving into the Middle Kingdom, we see a continued association of priestesses of Hathor with women of the royal family. 6 women associated with King Mentuhotep II are designated as priestesses of Hathor. They also carry the royal titles King's Wife and Sole Ornament of the King. The women's names were Kawit, Ashayet, Henhanit, Kemsit, Sadeh, and Mayet or Tamayet. Each woman was buried in an individual shrine located along the rear ambulatory of Mentuhotep II's funerary monument in Deir el-Bakri. Unfortunately, almost nothing of the monument survives. The women's burials were excavated by Herbert Winlock of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York early in the 20th century.
I want you guys to remember something. We came from the well of Abet, was the people who scrolled up upon the either Semna or Buhin fortress that was controlled by the Magi. Now watch what she says.
Many of the Queen's funerary objects can be found on display in the Met, which has several rooms dedicated to them. The large stone sarcophagus of Henhanit is on display in one of those galleries. Regarding the ethnicity of these women, Winlock, the excavator, confirms Derry's earlier description of the 6 women as Nubian. And he writes of them dismissively as, quote unquote, dancing girls of Neb-Hepet Re, the throne name of Mentuhotep II. And I quote Winlock here. Derry had already noticed that the features of the tattooed dancing girls buried in the Neb-Hepet Re temple showed marked Nubian traits, and that Nubian blood had probably flowed through the veins, even of such ladies of the king's harem as Ashayet and Henhanit.
All right, so they saying Nubian blood, but we know it ain't really no such thing. They just saying that's that Nubian translated to Negro in that time, and so you know what they're trying to say.
Furthermore, the pictures of Ashayet on her sarcophagus give her a rich chocolate Nubian complexion, and her companion Kemsit was painted on hers an actual ebony black.
Ah, y'all thought I was lying. I love busting wigs. Hold on, let me go back. Her name is Black Woman. And they training her blacker than his other wives. Man, let me go back, man. Golly.
That the features of the tattooed dancing girls buried in the Neb-Hepet Re temple showed marked Nubian traits, and that Nubian blood had probably flowed through the veins, even of such ladies of the king's harem as Ashayet and Henhanit. Furthermore, the pictures of Ashayet on her sarcophagus give her a rich chocolate Nubian complexion, and her companion Kemsit was painted on hers an actual ebony black, just like these little figures. End quote. While Pinch, Geraldine Pinch, a scholar who has written about votive offerings to Hathor, notes that the figurines found in Mentuhotep II's funerary complex bear markings paralleled on contemporaneous Nubian C group figurines. Pinch refers to the mummies of the priestesses of Hathor described above to declare that neither the figurines nor the priestesses were Nubian women, and I quote Pinch. This need not mean that the Egyptian figurines represent Nubians, since 3 11th dynasty mummies of light-skinned women with tattoos on their thighs, stomachs, and shoulders were recovered from the precincts of Ak-Isut, the Egyptian name for the funerary complex.
Now watch this. Remember light-skinned women. Remember y'all thinking there wasn't no light-skinned Nubians. Remember y'all thinking all this fake stuff because they told y'all Nubians was a people. But watch this. He just said that they found the same tattoo on some light-skinned women. Now watch this. He messed it up. Watch.
Nubian C group figurines, Pinch refers to the mummies of the priestesses of Hathor described above to declare that neither the figurines nor the priestesses were Nubian women. And I quote Pinch. This need not mean that the Egyptian figurines represent Nubians, since 3 11th dynasty mummies of light-skinned women with tattoos on their thighs, stomachs, and shoulders were recovered from the precincts of Ak-Isut, the Egyptian name for the funerary complex of Mentuhotep II, end quote. A more balanced interpretation of the possible ethnicity of these women is found in Ellen Morris's discussion of Middle Kingdom paddle dolls, who she suggests, quote, were representations of specific living women, namely late Old Kingdom and Middle Kingdom Kenner dancers of Hathor at Deir el-Bakri, end quote. Morris goes on to say, quote, the visibility of Nubian styles in the court of Neb-Hepet-Re has been much discussed, and this co-occurrence of bodily decoration in the Theban court and in Nubia need not be a coincidence, end quote. So this is an open bay on the west.
I promote you to watch this whole thing, but I need you to remember what she said about the light skin, and as well as we have came from the well of Abet. Now this is Ashayet's a reconstruction of glyphs found in Ashayet's sarcophagus. Remember, her homie Kim C was ebony black, but watch her other two girls inside of this part of her sarcophagus, as well as her light-skinned homegirl.
To the east of the grotto, 2 tattooed women were found buried in pit graves. So this is the sarcophagus, or a painting of a sarcophagus of one of those priestesses of Hathor and queen of Mentuhotep II.
Let me stop her and play the color game real quick, all right, and have some fun. Now, we know this is a reconstruction where they tried to be just as accurate as they could possibly be. So in being as accurate as he could possibly be, I see 4 different brown hues here. Y'all can tell me if the artist, if that's an accident, and you'll be wrong, or if the artist made an effort to show the difference between all of these brown hues here. He definitely did, because the original artist definitely did. And even with her light-skinned homies, we're going to see how this breaks down.
This watercolor facsimile of the exterior of Ashayet's sarcophagus, now in Cairo, depicts Ashayet as a brown-skinned woman sitting before her shrine, smelling a lotus blossom associated with rebirth and receiving funerary offerings. Julian Cooper has recently written about the name of one of the 2 dark-skinned women on the right. He suggests that the woman's name, preserved in hieratic script above her image, can be identified as derived from a Kushitic language, ancestral to Beja, now spoken in the eastern desert of Egypt and Nubia.
Real quick. So we're still talking about the same story of Mentuhotep having a line on these sisters who now we see got Kushitic names. At least her friends got Kushitic names, right? But let's keep listening.
The label identifies her as the Magi lady Mekhenet.
So the label, they talking about the 2 darker ones, depict one of the 2 darker ones as a Magi lady Mekhenet, depicted to the far right.
depicted on the far right. To quote Cooper from his recently published article in the online UCLA Encyclopedia of Egyptology, quote, the name Mekhenet perfectly matches the Kushitic lexical root keken, so K.
See the way that they breaking these names down into a Kushitic, Nubian-ish language. Well, I should just say into a Kushitic language, Chef. All of us who know Medu Neter could tell you that nobody could tell you what Ashayet means, at least not off the head. They're gonna try to go in on that and make that, but it'll be hard. I mean, we know the ek gives us the feminine part, but Ash, we'd have to look at the glyphs and try to determine that. But as she's telling us right now that the scholar has determined these with some Kushitic names, so let's keep listening.
.hn, meaning to love, known in Beja, Saho Afar, so spoken in Ethiopia, and Somali, with the common Afro-Asiatic nominalizing M prefix appended to the root, end quote. I'd like to also just point out that this Beja or Magi lady has a basket carrying case, and you can see the handle of an up-ended mirror in that case. So yet another reference to the worship of the goddess Hathor. Here we see Kawit as depicted on...
Because I love seeing this. She got her mirror in her hand so she could get her braids braided on her head or twisted. This is a strong argument against all of these is Nubian wigs. No one of royalty is going to get a wig sewn on their own head and sit there for hella hours. She got her mirror in her hand, she's sipping her tea, and she getting her twisties twisted. If you can't see that, you ain't never even been in nowhere where women be doing hair.
And her...
You ain't gonna do no wig on nobody's head. They gonna do that on some replica so the real human can move around. They'll fit it to their head and do it someplace else.
Stone sarcophagus, having her hair fixed, holding a mirror, and being offered a drink, all ritual actions associated with the celebration of the goddess Hathor. And you can see the handle of the mirror looks very similar to that one in the previous image from the sarcophagus of Ashayet. One of 3 tattooed women found buried near the funerary complex of Mentuhotep II, Amunet, held the titles Sole Royal Ornament and Priestess of Hathor. A sketch of her tattoos shows that they are meant to emphasize the erogenous zones of her stomach and pelvic region. Some of these markings were cicatrices, raised scarification, in addition to the tattoos that decorated her body. And I'd like to say you might notice that I'm switching back and forth between 2 or 3 mummified women with tattoos. And that's because...
But did she ever talk about her other homegirl? So she didn't, so let me talk about her. Because Kate Liska might talk about her. Let's see. Because her light-skinned homegirl, I'm sorry, I thought she was going to talk about her, is named Abet. So let's go to Ashayet's tomb. That what's name just said means something I ain't even gonna repeat till I see the glyphs. Oh, let me see her name. Anyway, if we come to this, her name is Abet. That's why she got that mustache. I don't know, but her name is Abet. If you go on to Kate Liska's work, you'll see that she say she might have came from This place in the Nubian desert. I don't know why I can't find it. Hold on, man. Phone ring. Dr. Don must be hella funny. That wasn't him, but I remember what he said something about that means you ain't watching. But I ain't tripping off that. But so let's get back to it then, because we still in that 11 dynasty, remember? We just have to give people all the extra information that they need to understand what's going on. So this is why when Sinuhe and them of the 12th dynasty came out, we learned about this term called Kush. It's because in order to prevail and to reunify Egypt, it appears Mentuhotep had to tap in with his people who was south more than Ankh-Tefi. And the only political power we learn about being south more than Ankh-Tefi coming after the time of Mentuhotep II is Kush. Now, it's not me. It's not the geography. It's not, oh, I bet, again, is a well way far south in Nubia. And that's what her name is. And it was Kate Liska who said that that name may be representative of that location. But did I find any of her work? Did I do it right? Her name right? Egypt? Oh, there you go, Dr. Kate Liska. Hold on, let's see what she say about the Magi. R-B-H-E-T. Is she on here? Oh no, I didn't put her name. Damn. Look at it. Oh, I spelled it wrong again. That ain't her. It's this person. I'm just copying and pasting shit up.
So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining.
Let's see if she break it down in any of these videos. If I type Magi, she got to be talking about it. And if not, I'm going to just get back to cooking. She's talking about a lot of other subjects. But her dissertation was on the Magi. Yeah, see, she talking about the 3 so-called fortresses. I keep telling y'all the main fortresses, man. Shout out to Kate Liska. It was Egyptologists who set up that fake theory that, though, they built fortresses to keep the Nubians out. All that stuff. This is a lot of good videos here. Dang, that was just some bomb videos. But let me get back to it. Hold up. All right. So, now, I showed us in the Old Kingdom the first attestation in this TLA. We could probably find it. The old one is of 1700 Southerners, Nubians captured or seized. Next, we find them in the royal context, written into a masterbot of Shoshetep in the Old Kingdom. When we went to Asiatics, we found one in a non-royal context having to give up whatever they had on them to the secretary in the Old Kingdom. And in the next context, someone is punishing these Asiatics in the foreign land. In the third context, we're at the time period of Sinuhe, who obviously reigned and prevailed over Mentuhotep, because Mentuhotep was the 11th dynasty, Sinuhe the 12th dynasty. He got a problem with people from the south. He also is really politically strong on making sure Egypt ain't got a problem with them no more. there was not such a big contingency coming from Asiatic, as you can see from statements like this. The next time he mentioned them. His and her slaughterhouse was full, consisted of children of the enemies. The sacrificial cattle consist of Asiatics. You see, A'amu. So for the people who argue that Asiatics set up Egypt, you got to talk about some of these claims. Nevertheless, it wouldn't be from this time period because Simroset has just as bad policy towards Nubians or people from the south. But it's going to take us longer to get there because during the Old Kingdom, many of Southerners or Nubians are mentioned. This is the Shemsu of Mari and the Mastaba of Nisut Nefer. The category of this text would be royal people. I mean, you know, that's just that. In another Mastaba of Nisut Nefer, we see the Nubian Siller, or it might be the same Mastaba. Another Nubian, the Siller, Seneb. Still in the Old Kingdom, but when we go to Asiatics, we had to jump all over that and go to the Middle Kingdom where they're being punished and slaughtered. We're just looking at the text. Nubians, the Siller, okay? You know, this is the seal of the king. This is the royal seal. You see the seal? So dude was a boss. He carried the royal seal of the Nisut, that Nubian. Now they go back to Southerners, no. Because the context of the phrase here is say, the Southerners when they traveled northward. Still in the Old Kingdom. It's not the Nubians when they traveled northward. And I say this is the context that we should use in order to understand ancient Egypt completely. To translate Nehesi as Southerners, as they switched up from right here, is the same word. Nehes. But right here, Nubians. And right here, Southerners. Because they have it in juxtaposition to northward. It's always in juxtaposition to northward because Egyptians spoke Egyptocentric. So they were the center of things. So the people to the south was just called Nehes. Here you go again. Nehesi, the Southerners when they traveled northward. During the time, Old Kingdom still. So it took us this many more attestations to get to the next time you hear about the Asiatics. I keep telling you, people are exploiting and what are they doing? They are promulgating, pushing forward the relationship of the Mediterranean people, and it wasn't seen that way from the ancient Egyptian perspective. As you see, the Asiatics or A'amu ain't did nothing good yet. Ain't nothing happened, and know which attestation you gonna go to. This is why I love looking through these texts all day, and I know what he gonna go to, and I'm not limited to the TLA. I'm just showing you the quickest, useful way to show you a perspective. This is negative. This is negative. This is negative in references to people from the East. When we go to Nubians, the first three attestations, the first is negative. 17,000 Nubians packed or captured. The rest are positive. The Nubian Sher Tessi, his name is written into a mastaba along with other royals. I can show you that. Let me make it translate right. Then I'll pick the wrong language. Then you can see it. Page is not German. Now I'm going to just pick the wrong language real quick. Now they're going to let you see it. See? You got to go to the codex now. It's just a glitch in the TLI or something. So now when we go back here, not the codex, but the actual... I got to do that again, man. Not the codex, but the actual text. There you go. You're going to see that I'm not lying saying that he was a Nubian listed along name with other royals. How did this happen if they hated Nubian people so much? Now let's look and see. The destruction, head of the palace destruction, of the keeper of the secrets, and that stuff is destroyed. His biological son, Teddy. So the keeper of the secrets' biological son was Heti. And it says, Maret Itis. Over here it says Maret Iti. So that would mean one who comes. This is a woman. The beloved one who comes. That's what this means. So if you click on it, it just says Mariti. Maret is beloved. Iti is to come. And S makes it feminine. So this is the beloved one comes. The scribe of the Shek into Ka archives. That's that person. In Sej Ka. Okay. Now let's see who else is mentioned here. The bringer of the dead offering by the villagers of Lower Egypt on every festival day for Sheshet Hetu, Sin Mer the elder. Okay. The cattle driver, Lunef Ini, the longhorn cattle, young animal, whatever. They put a cattle in there because you know how they was on it like that. The young Mendez antelope. I guess they giving them props too. So I don't know, that ain't no antelope. Let's see what it really is. They say antelope. I don't know why they say that. The scribe Hetep Ka, so they listing royal people. And then they're going to come to the Nubians. This is the old kingdom. Let's just go on and skip down so you can stop wasting time. I will do a Kemet marathon on y'all. The sacrifices of Cheops. All right, we got the fresh village of the fresh grains of Cheops. These are domains as they show you. This is during the time period of Khufu. Okay? And you about to see these Nubians and the mastaba being bosses. Cheops is Khufu. The king's natural son, the bomber of Anubis. Let's get down to it. Where y'all gonna call out these Nubians? Now this is where they start mentioning all the people. The leader of the dining tent, Aki. Okay, the head of the linen stuff, Rini, or Rihi, whoever. The attendant, Tai, Hezi. Hezi was just a boss. They didn't even say who he was. They just put his name up in there. Keep going. The manager, the royal wealth, the courtier, now the care of the god, the Anubis, blah, blah, blah. The ruler with Ha. He is Hakawa Ha. He's really a boss. Let's keep going. Who mentioned right after the ruler? Huh? The Nubian. So now we got philological context on how that ain't locking us into the political view. We clearly see that it was Nubians in mastabas written as people in the old kingdom. We come back to Asiatic, we'll see things a bit different. Actually, let's go through Asiatic to see how long it takes for us to see something cool said about them. We're on Nubians here, down here. So the sacrificial cattle consists of Asiatics. We know ancient Egyptians seen people as cattle. That's why the king was the bull. And Kemet was a flock of sacred cattle, black cattle. That's why they were called Kemet. That was another use for the term Kemet. Here you see here, Nubian and an Asian burning here, whatever this may mean. Since this from the context of Senroset I, it's not good. Sense of sacrifice, and then to say something about burning, he getting rid of, they dead. However you want to look at it. If you want to interpret that better, we could go into it. We see Nehesi and Aamu. Let's see, Mer. What's this Mer? Some infinitive. That's actually a whore. Why did they have a Mer there? That's actually a whore. That's like a pawn to burn with heat. Well, bah. So they saying, now let's look at the context of this. So people won't take this text incorrectly. Like I'm about to do. So let me back up and go to the co-text. And what do we see? Hold on, man. I might be going left and right. That's because of where I be sitting. So let me just stay sitting back here and turn it up to that level. Yeah. Here we go. I'm going to see what they said. Here we go. Now it says, who sees the commanders who faces will not be lowered. Their light who has caused the rage with anger for the protector of his fathers who existed before. For them, repeat the birth again. This is with him right here. So now when somebody says something about repeat birth, I keep telling you it ain't what you thought. Here go with him with his suit. As I told you, that would be a term for repeated birth. You see with him, now you see this word for birth? But repeating the birth is used in the negative context here, like they about to get murked. Because it say Asiatics and the Asians burning here. Great. And this is here. They got for here. Cool. We could question that, but whatever the case, that has neither no positive context for either party from what I can extract. Let's keep going. They brought with them silver, all this stuff, and 1,002 Asians. Am I reading this wrong? Look at the screen. So that's what Amenhotep the second brought back from one of his caravans. Let's go to Nubians, because I told you this is when the harsh policy comes in at the time period of the 12th dynasty. So it's harder to get there with the Nubians because there's so many more Old Kingdom attestations. Old Kingdom, Old Kingdom. Now we're in the Middle Kingdom. See, we're at the same attestation. So let's go down and see what Sinuhe said about Nubians. Who robs the Nubian and the Magi retreat. This is when he's trying to tell people that they some punks. He started talking about the Nubians as some punks. This is his actual language here. Now, it says who robs the Nubians and the Magi retreat, and then we got something about a Kemet here. So they think it was in Egypt there. With through the nomads roam around on the mountains by. He basically was just slandering the Southerners here. Okay, in the Middle Kingdom, Sinuhe. I'm not saying he wasn't one. If we detail how the fight happened, them Heracleopolis kings hooked up with who? They hooked up with somebody from Tasseti who didn't have more juice southmore. So Mentuhotep and this priestess of Hathor, whose names could be traced back to Kushitic roots, went down to Kush and came back with this new term that Egyptians had to reckon with in the 12th dynasty. Sinuhe them, the 12th family. The 11th family came back with this term called Kush. And we find Kush, if I go to the term Kush and search it, it won't go back before the 12th dynasty. And Sinuhe talking big smack about them. Like, oh, who is these Nessi Kush? These Southerners from Kush. And so this is some of his, again, we got to remember what view we're getting. When it says a pharaoh's name here, we're back into the political view, right? Same here with the Asians or the Asiatics. Amenhotep the second is going to give us a political view. Sinuhe the second is going to give us a political view. It don't mean it wasn't no Asiatics in Egypt that had love at the time. You just ain't finding them in the record yet. Let's see when we do find them in the record. We're well into the Middle Kingdom. At the beginning of the Middle Kingdom with Amenhotep II. When you see them in a list of materials like this, it's not good. You're never going to find an ancient Egyptian attestation with your people listed with all the materials that you could act like y'all was some bosses. If you want me to read it, it gets worse. They brought with them silver, 1,676 and a half Devon. Bronze, 4,882 Devon. Copper, 15,961 Devon. Then they just gonna throw Asiatics in there. Where is that? Look, I'll put it down here. Medicine herbs against the arrow. So if you get shot by an arrow, they brought back some herbs for that. They was worried about Tasseti still. But look, 5 trees. They got some figs. They brought 73 fig trees, 1 sycamore tree, and 65 Asians. Now this is bronze. Somebody said made of, but the Asians ain't made of bronze and gold. So this made of is parenthetical. It is bronze, gold, and ivory. 2 mirrors made of bronze, gold, and ivory. But if you want to go back over here and look at where it says 65 Asians that they brought back, we're going to see if there's a number directly attached to the term A'amu. And we offer to do the same with Nubians. Let's find the A'amu So these Asians might not even be Aamu because I don't even see the Aamu. Where's the number 65? I'll look for a number 65. 66 Haka. I don't even see 65. Am I over here tripping? Should I go up higher? Here goes something about some Amu, but this is some something from Asia. This ain't them. Look, I'll prove it. See, Asian stone. That says Asian seal. So that's something from, yeah, Asian steel. I'm tripping. A seal from Asia. So that ain't it. So let's find, where is this 65? It ain't even over here. Do this say 65 Asians? 65 Asians. Or it should be about one sycamore tree and bronze and gold. So it should be a Nebu word over here and a Haset for the bronze word. Where's that at? If y'all can find that, let me know. They might have just, but how they put that in there? It's a different word for Asians I ain't finding. But I'm going to omit this one because I ain't qualifying it with my own knowledge. I don't see that word. And y'all can look through it too and see what's up with that Asian attestation. All right. And so I'm going to take that out. They didn't bring back 65 Asians. I didn't even see it. I let out my victory scream on his back while every Asian roared. If you're listening to this and you're taking it like the modern day term Asian, you tripping. Yeah, them 65 Asians wasn't even there either. I thought that what's his name said he brought back 89,000, but when I looked through the text, I took that back. It said I let out my victorious scream on his back while every Asian roared. This one wasn't cool. This is Sinuhe. Sinuhe is the funny one. This is the most funny story. I should read some of this. I'm going into Sinuhe because they start going hard on Sinuhe. Guess what Sinuhe did? This is why we learn these stories. Sinuhe, wait, let me look at him just to say his name correctly. Sinuhe. I be saying why because it's easier to roll off the tongue. Sinuhe. I'm saying Sinuhe still because it's rolling off my tongue better. But just know that it's spelled Sinuhe, or whatever. Now, obviously this has a missing text, so I would like to go to one of the beginning texts. This dude was the dude who we often talk about who left Egypt and went to go live as an Asiatic. Dang, that's the only part of the story they got. Let me find a better text. So, man, they getting beat on and everything. What this say right here? Nubians get beat on. Don't think they don't. But you see in a different context. We hadn't found one yet where they said anything positive about the people of the East. This is the ancient Egyptian perspective from a philological survey from one of the leading text corpuses online. We just simply pop the term in. Anyone can do this. Just got to know what you're looking at. And I struck the Asiatic, and the soldiers of the army united to fight with the Asiatic. Why, if this was they people, why they doing all this? Say the same about the Nubians. This is why you see the Nubians before we get my man Senroset the first, his family, and watch what happened when his family get out of power. It's going to be hella funny. Everything positive, the Nubians, the sealer, the Nubian, the retainer. You go to the Asiatic side, the soldiers of the army will unite to fight against the Asiatics. We can go all the way to the top, man. I've been doing it all day. It's going to be a marathon until y'all understand. I got time. And His Majesty said to the king's wife, I told you, this is the exact line I was looking for. This is the punchline, so I don't want him to read it for you. So guess what? Sinuhe he left Egypt, right? I got to get in story mode, so we're going to do it like this. Sinuhe left Egypt, right? He was like, man, I don't even want to be an Egyptian no more. This is why DNA is retarded in this regard. Because Sinuhe chose not to live his life as an Egyptian. What did he do? It's also the third thing I want to add. You also need to speak the Egyptian language. But in old times, to be considered an Egyptian, you didn't have to be black. You didn't have to be white. You didn't have to be olive. What you had to be was a person who drank fresh water. Are they serious? I'm going to answer this later. You got to be a person who drank fresh water from the Delta, who paid taxes back to the Pharaoh, who spoke the Egyptian language. All you had to be. Now, this person, Sinuhe, he wanted to leave Egypt, and he didn't want to drink that water, and he didn't want to pay no taxes to the Pharaoh, so he got up out of there. I'm going to go into a story so you can see it on the screen. He got up out of there and went to live amongst the who? Well, since we came across this story by searching the word A'amu, we should know that whoever these people are called the A'amu are significant characters in this story. Now, he left, he became a boss amongst the A'amu, right? And he said, you know what? I don't even want to be buried. You ain't gonna believe me. But he gonna say, I don't even want to be buried with in no type of Asian nothing. Take me back to Africa to be buried like an Egyptian. So even though he became a boss that fought wars for the Asiatics, shout out to Pan-African's Design, I see you. Even though he became a boss who fought wars with the Asiatics, he said, I don't want to die an Asiatic, and came back and rejoined Egyptians. Now, what do DNA have to say about that? How, if we only limited our tools to one of the most, one of the youngest tools right now, if we just limited it, DNA is very useful. But if we just limit our tools to only DNA, how would DNA reconcile this story? That Sinuhe was born genetically an Egyptian and then went and lived his whole life culturally and ethnically as an Asiatic. What if he would have died in Asiatic areas? Then you'd be using his marker to say that Asians was Egyptians. See how easily you can illustrate the error that only using genetics will cause? And if y'all didn't catch that, let me go slower. This is a real primary attestation of an ancient Egyptian, a story of an ancient Egyptian who was born an ancient Egyptian, went and lived all his better years as an Asiatic. He became a boss amongst the retinue, a particular contingency of the Asiatics. And when he came back to Egypt and seeing his mama and his daddy, they didn't even know him. And look at what his mama said. Let's go down here. Either his mama or his daddy gonna say it. And the situation had arisen then, but reaching him in the evening, he didn't wait for any case. The falcon flew up with his entourage. When someone called for one of them, I was standing there. All right. It says, although I was not in the immediate vicinity, I heard a voice and he spoke. It was horrified. My heart and my mind became confused, and my arms stopped obeying me. They were outstretched. It says, trembling and had fallen with every limb of mine. In order to find a hiding place, I took off in leaps and bounds. To prepare the way for him who walks on it, I went on to the bushes. So he got up out the way. It says, now following my march south, my making it walk south upstream, I did not plan, though, to go to this residence as I suspected that there would be a riot. He says, because I didn't mean to live according to him yet. And it says, after I crossed the Mahdi. So he's just telling you, this is on his way back to Kemet. After crossing the Mahdi channel, near the Sycamore, I landed in Sinuhe Island. So now he back on his way to Kemet. Now watch what happened. I spent the day on the extreme edge of the field, so he was on the outskirts. When I sent out, it was still daylight. I suddenly met a man standing at the mouth of my path. He says, although I was frightened of him, he treated me with respect and he greeted me respectfully. When dinner time came, I reached the port of Gu. So is he in Kemet yet or not? Let's see where the port of Gu is. They don't say nothing about that there, or they say it in a different language. Only by the breeze of the west wind I crossed in a barge without a rudder. It says, above the Lady of the Red Mountain bypassed the east sky of Jakku after setting my feet northward. So look, I came near the walls of the Sovereign, which were made to keep out the Asiatics. So he lived his whole life as an Asiatic, and on his way back to Kemet, he came to the wall. Now it's about to get funky because he looked like an Asiatic, but he really the son of an Egyptian king, I think. I don't know if he was the son of a pharaoh, but I know he's not a commoner. So now he came on his way back into Egypt. He coming to the wall that's supposed to keep the people who look like him out. So let's look what he say. For fear that the guard at the watch house who was on duty would see me, I ducked in the bushes. All right, meaning he assumed his stoop position. Now following my night march, so he creeped at night because he didn't want his own Egyptian people by DNA to see him as an Asiatic and try to keep him out of Kemet. Now let me keep reading. As the land lightened, I reached Petin. I had settled on the idol of Kim-Ur, that's the great black. He had settled on the island. You want me to click it? The island of the great black, Grover Schwartz. It's funny. He settled on the island of Kim-Ur when an attack of the thirsty overtook him. When an attack of thirst, so he got hella thirsty on the island of Kim-Ur. Now, when I was withering from thirst at my throat, why was he on an island? I keep telling y'all stuff like this. Why was he thirsty on an island? Because Kim-Ur must be surrounded by a different type of water that you can't drink. Man, we're gonna know all of this stuff from looking at philological surveys and make people smack their lips. When an attack of thirst overtook me, a fall of thirst that overtook me. When I was withered from thirst and my throat was bone dry, I said, this is the taste of death. But when I heard a roaring voice of a cattle, you see, I regained courage and I lifted up my heart and I gathered my limbs. When the Asiatics saw me, the sheik of them who had been in Egypt recognized me. So hold up. He said he was coming to the wall. Am I too early in the story? Because I want to get to the part where he coming back to Egypt. But now you can still see the Asiatics, the sheik had saw him in Egypt. They recognized him and he gave him water, warm milk. And I went with him with his tribe. So now I'm too early in the story, man. So he was on his way out of Egypt when he came to that wall. Let's go to the end when he returning. So well, let me go back one time because the word is here that you need to see. Look, upper retinue. Okay? If I click this retinue word, dang, man, why they be doing that? When I come to look for the transliteration, oh, that's why, because upper retinue is written in a conjunction. You see this retinue right here? Now, what does it say? The hill country of Syria or Palestine. So who came to greet him when he was thirsty? Was a dude with a one of them names too, Amu Nashi. Nansi, the ruler of upper retinue. You know these Amu names. Look, you can see it yourself. I didn't make that up. Amu Nashi. Kind of like close to an Amorite name. Over there close to the, you know this Amu ain't ancient Egyptian. This comes from the Amoritic language, and you find it inside of Akkadian too, and you'll find it in the lower language, Hebrew. Okay, and so this is a long word. They should even tell us that here. But anyway, let's keep going. It's a name of a foreign king. You know it's a long word. So let's keep going. And when I was withering the thirst, this Aamu, the king, the ruler of upper retinue. Now look here. This is how you know Haka, hike soaks ain't a people, because you got to know the application of Haka. Look at Haka here. It simply means a ruler, right? So if he was the ruler of Hakapu, the ruler that is this ruler of what? Retinue. Of upper retinue of the hill country of Syria. So we clearly know he was with the ruler of the hill country of Syria who came for him, as he says. I got this story so long, but now I'm trapped in it. But I'm gonna just skip to the end, to the part that was relevant. So you clearly see that and he said to me, "You have it well with me, for you will hear Egyptian." For you will hear Egyptian. Rodney Kemet. He like, I'm gonna speak, you gonna hear Egyptian. He really said you gonna hear Egyptian. Why did he say that? And for when he had learned from me the good character, and he had heard my experience, which the Egyptians who were that. Now look, here's a commit to you that they don't like to give us, bruh. Oh my God, I just messed up and found the accidental commit to you that ain't listed in the TLA. Now, how could this, all right, look, it says Remech, which means people, but it says Remech Kemet NTU. We got to look at this one in the primary. Remech Kemet TU. Ain't no black people? That would literally, now this is the one they be telling us you have to find in order for it to say black people. But this ain't working. But this to you is stretched away with this N into you. So the N has the TU on it. Neti. Okay, so the N has the neti. So this is Remech Kemet. Yep, Asar, you be mad that we found Remech Kemet like that. No, that just means the people of Egypt. Yes, it does. But when you say you need to make it match the grammatical, like Metatron, he say this is the one we do not have, where the term for Kemet is following the Remech. But I'm not going to get lost. It just says Egyptians here. And I'm about to go cook me some good food, man. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Trying to have a Kemet marathon. Hoping we enjoy it. YouTube told me my numbers was low. YouTube was like, what happened this month? So before the month over, I'm about to get it in. All right. All righty there. So where we at? So they asked him, why did you come here? Why did you reach this country? What incident? Where was an incident at the resident? He just told them, look, man, I want to come be a boss here. Now, but really, he says, when I returned from the expeditions against the land of Timahu, he was told about it. He said more, but I'm about to start skipping through just to get to what I was, because I was talking about something completely different. I just need to get to the part where he shows that, you see, when the Asiatics found him, he was an Egyptian. Now let's go to the last maybe and go backwards. Now let's watch when the Egyptians find him and they be like, what the hell the matter with you? Maybe I don't need to go that far. And I don't even know if it's his mother or father that see him. I think it's his own family that sees him and can't recognize him as an Egyptian because he is Asiatic to them. So that means you could switch these things and DNA won't be able to tell when you switched. I advised the Asians who were preparing to attack to repel the foreign rulers, for this ruler of retinue made me carry out many missions. So he was a boss now as the Asiatic, under the Asiatic ruler. But watch when he tell the ruler, you know what, bruh? I'm cool on this. I'm going back to Egypt. and watch how the Egyptians react. If I would have had this prepared, this is a very long story, and I would encourage you on your own time to just go in and read up on it, because it gives you perspective, and people can't mislead you and be like, man, the Mesopotamians was the shit to the Egyptians. What? Egyptians ain't know nothing about none of that. This is what they knew. So this is when he giving them he gonna give them, the dude Shadi or whatever, about to give him heck of stuff for his trip back to Kemet or whatever. All right, hold on. Look, he talking about how his house is beautiful, my dwelling place is far away, and the memory of me, my memory in this palace, whatever God ordained this escape, may you have mercy and restore me to the residence. Surely you will let me see the palace where my heart spends its day. So he like, let me get back to my home. Now watch this. For what is more important than my burial in the country where I was born? Now do y'all see that? For what is more important than the burial in the country that I was born? So you clearly see here that yes, he was tripping off that right there. It has come to help. It is a come to help so that the good things may happen and God may show mercy. Does he act in a way according to? So now he like, man, this is his ambitions to get back to his land and to get buried there. But the whole point of emphasis is when, now look, will he return again to the one with whom he had shaken the land, committed treason in a place? So he got up out of there like Moses. They say he committed treason, but he turned in to come back. He said, may the king of Egypt have mercy on me, that I may live in his grace, and that I may greet the sovereign who is in the palace, and I may hear the message of her children. So he like, man, don't be hella mad at me when I come back. My arms are weak. He old now. He see now. Weakness has taken over me, you see? My eyes have become heavy. So I just want to die as an Egyptian, man. Don't even hate on me. Now watch what happened. Let me go to this part. Copy of the letter that was brought by the servant, blah, blah, blah. This is a long-ass story. And it's good because it gives us more data. Now the son of Simroset, living everlasting, the royal mischief to the retainer Sinuhe. Behold, the letter from the king will be brought to you to let you know, after passing through the foreign lands, you finally came from Quata to retinue. But on the advice of your own heart, you passed on from the foreign land to foreign land. It says, what have you done so that action would have been taken against you? Like, why is you on the run like a fugitive? Let's keep going. This is Simroset action. Remember, he don't like these people nor them people. Now, it says, did you make a defamatory speech so that your speech would have been punished? You also did not accuse in the council meeting of high officials so that your statement would have been to be countered. He basically saying you didn't make no case for yourself, it appears. You also did not accuse in the council meeting of high officials. You didn't say nobody else was the reason for this. But this decision brought your heart away. So you got up and left Kemet, bruh, and it wasn't nothing that made you do that. He was not against you in my heart. Let's keep reading. This heaven of yours, the queen, which is in the palace, endures, and it is constant today as it was before in the kingdom and the queen of the land. He basically saying, bruh, we still got it popping. But they translated that like that. He's like, it was popping like it is now and before it was. This heaven of yours, I don't know why they translate that as the queen, which is in the palace, endures, and it is constant today as it was before as the kingdom of the land of Egypt. They're saying it was like this all the time. Why are you coming back now? And their children are already in the audience hall. You shall have last a long life with the precious things of the king they grant you. So he said it's all good. You shall have last a long life with the precious things of the kind that they grant you. So you're going to be good. And you shall live by their gifts. It says, make your way. So he's telling them to go to Kemet. Now let's go over here. Uri, go, you should go. This is Uri NK. This is to make your way, not you should go. This is the you should go. Make, this means make, create. Make, to do, to make, to create. Make to you, go to, this is the directional to. Kemet, ma, like you. What is like you? Ma ain't like, me is like. To see, you so you can see, so you see. It says, make to you, go to Kemet, see you, you see, this the interior, home. See, this is when they used to still call Kemet the interior. Oh, I just found one. So this is the tale of Sinuhe, where you could clearly see Sinroset told Sinuhe to go to Kemet, and you're going to see the interior, or the home. Well, the home is the interior. You got to know that by use of these words. So, it says the queen of the land of Egypt. That's cool. So he got a pass. Now it says, make your way. He told him to go there, and you could join his people, the courtiers, the king's people. Now look, because the day you started to grow old, he gonna give you a pass, and have lost the power to procreate. You also commemorate on the day of the burial of passing the venerability, whatever that says. You also commemorate the day of burial of passing, so you need to be buried right. The night will be prepared for you with embalming oil and linen bandages, so you're going to be mummified. It says the funeral procession will be carried out. Man, tell me I'm past the part I need to see. It says the mummy shall be made of gold, so you're going to be good. The mummy mask is said to be made of lapis lazuli. The sky is above you to lie in a coffin sled. Cattle going to pull you. Oh, man, if I read all this and I'm beyond the point, hold on. Now, let's just stop right here. I ain't beyond all the points. Good. Because I'm just skipping. He going to keep telling them, the singers in front of you, you good, all the stuff going to happen. Don't worry. You will be told that you need to make sacrifices. And the people will slaughter before you sacrificial stones. Before your sacrificial stones. Let your pillars hall be built of white limestone. So basically, Sinroset gave him love. But look, you won't die in a foreign country. So this is the letter he got, remember? We gonna turn you back to Egyptian, bro. We know you was rocking with the retinue king. Now watch this. Because the Asians should not bury you. Again, because the Asians should not bury you. You shall not be put in a ram's skin. So now they're talking about the burial tradition. We ain't letting you go out like that. But wait till they see that boy. And no one should make you a grave enclosure, circle stone. Make your grave enclosure. So don't make your grave out there. Don't even let them make you a tumuli. All of this is more than shaking the country, treason, taking care of your corpse and come back, whatever, take care of you. And then a letter came to me while I was standing in the midst of my tribe. So he had a whole big ass tribe out there. When it was read to me, it went to my stomach. I touched the ground and spread it on my chest, so he was juiced. Exultantly, I turned around my bed with my words, how can one do this for the servant whose heart caused him to wander into a foreign land? See, he went and became an Asiatic, and he hella happy that the Pharaoh still gonna let him come back and die as an Egyptian. But surely the benevolent one who saved me from the death of any kind, your car will let me spend the end of my body in the residence at home. The residence is the interior of Egypt. When As-Sin-Roset just told you to go into the interior of Egypt, this is not at his house. They saying he wanted to see, you know, like you want to say go back home when you go to the south, if you're from the south. That's the way that's used. All right, I'm still doing this. I'm chilling. I'm kind of getting hot though. Let me see. Copy of the reply to this letter to serve to the palace of Surin. I'm just skipping to the end now. Let's skip to the point where they lay eyes on that boy for the first time, and then I'm going to get up out of here off that attestation at least. See how far, what? We heard Aaron de Socha mention this attestation here. So the context of the difference between Upper and Lower Egypt is here. It was like a dream state, as if a delta dweller saw himself in Elephantini. See, people try to mess this up, but I'll get the true context of this. A man of the delta swamps in Nubia. But see, Aaron de Socha interprets this like a dream state that like a person wouldn't know what he was doing. Nah, a dream state is when you have a dream, you doing it big. A dream state it was like a dream. Dude, are you trying to tell me something say literally it was like a dream? And y'all trying to mess that up for the people? So let's go over here. Me means like. Au is a tense phrase. See, this au auxiliary is just going to give us a tense auxiliary. We know this is a tense statement. Like was, is. Now, me means like, right? Look, everything I say going to be corroborated by the dictionary. Right? So it was like what? Now, before I click this word, let me break it down. Sesh is the root of this term, and a sesh is a writing. But we have an M at this. Sashim, right? So what do they translate over here? It was like a dream state. Sesh is a writing. Sashim, I'm going to have to go on and look that up. But they got this other word, rest, in there, which has something to do with like dreaming. Watch. So they got this whole word as one word, but we got to break down the terms. So I want to take this one and put it into a dictionary real quick and see what this root gives us. So this is a place name for that right there. Hold on. We're going to look through it. It's too many of them. There's 68 of them. To let go, an image, a statue. I know some of them. To protect, to conduct, to lead, to guide. Yeah, that's the shashim we know. Oh, sesh-im. We know that shashim, to lead, because it comes from instructions being written down. Sesh, that is the root. So a person who gives you instructions or directions is giving you guidance or leadership. And so we know that you see guidance. So we know shashim could mean to lead or to guide, a leader. Now let's look. Retinue meaning like the people who following you. So or the person who's leading them person, one of the two. But we're looking for a different context to this shashim. Oh no, that might make perfect sense. No, they got a dream state here. So I like to know which root here led them to something along those lines. So it's an image. That's what it is. An image, right? And then this word behind it got to do with sleeping. So a sleeping image gave them a dream state. Let me show you how this word got to do with sleeping just from my memory. All right? So I'm going to have to take it out of this context. And you look up a R, a S, and a W. Let's see if we get C, awake, to be attentive. Awake, So that word has to do with sleeping. Wake is just the opposite context of the sleeping. All right. Now we will find it in the watch, to be vigilant, the watchers. So now we know if you negate this one RS word, if you're not watching, you sleep. But this isn't really negated. This is just rest wet. But I know this had to do with being, now this is a image that has to do with a different state. They call it a dream state. I ain't mad at that. So then it's like a dream. What you know is like a dream. Like seeing. It's like a dream, like seeing Sue. This is going to be the South. Oh, they just using this like him. It also works for him. Like seeing him. This is going to be in Abydos or Abu in Elephantine. This is a man of the Delta, right? There we go. So, man of the Delta. Now when I click this, of or by Abydos. See, so did it say, so it is like a dream, like, but they say like seeing. Not like a man seeing himself, but like to look and see. So either people in the Delta wasn't by Abydos. Oh, this is putting hands on cats. It's different ways to interpret this. Because they say it was like a dream state, as if a Delta dweller saw himself in Elephantine. What's this dream state? The dream state is like if you saw yourself in Hollywood. It's like if you seen yourself where it's more popping, you're going to get to dreaming. Because Elephantini in this equation is, I told you the Delta wasn't worth nothing. All right? Now, but you can say, and they ended with in Tassetti, but in Abydos or Elephantini, Abu meaning the elephant, see? So if you find yourself in Abu Z, this is a man, right? So everything I click gonna say what I say. Is a man in Kasat, but this is a foreign land. Kat. Why they put Kat? Oh, this is a different word, excuse me. The marshes. I didn't know that word. In the marshes of Tassetti. They left that out. Or the Delta swamps in Nubia. So they really left out the part that they say in the marshes of Tassetti. See, you get a better understanding of this because they say this is like a dream, like a man from the Delta marshes seen himself in the marshes of Tassetti. Then he said, I had no fear, but you got to think about the oldest, what he's talking about ultimately. He's saying that it's a dream that he got that letter and all that stuff. Well, let's keep going. Because I did skip to a part in the story. I was not persecuted, yep, and I had not heard any slander, so he was juiced. And my name had not been heard in the mouth of the herald. It says, but it has not shuddered my limbs, my feet ran away, my heart led me away. So that's why he went to go be an Asiatic. Man, they telling you right here. My feet ran away, my heart led me away, and the God who had ordained this escape drew me away. I wasn't arrogant before either. He wasn't arrogant before, but what you arrogant now? But for the man who knows his country is in fear of one. Okay, we feeling you. Ra has spread the fear of you throughout the land Egypt, and the terror of you in every foreign land. Be I in the residence, or be I in this place. It is you. That means be I, not the residence, but in the interior of Egypt. Be I in the interior of Egypt, or be where I'm at. It is you who covers this horizon. So this is him getting back at the Nisu. It says, for your sake the sun rises, the water. But at that point, he's talking to Ra. But still, the water in the river is drunk if you want it. Remember we talked about that? The air in heaven is breathed when you say it. The servant Da will now assign the inheritance with children that the servant Da has fathered in this place. Okay. Man, I read this for about 35 hours. I skipped through it and still ain't got to the part I want to read. Now he stopped on the way of Horus. See? So we even know which way he took through Canaanite territory. The way of Horus, we know where that is. All right? I stopped at the Horus way. The officer there who was in charge of the border patrol, so you know that was going down. Wasn't no wandering in. This is in the 12th dynasty. Sent me a message to the resident to give up words and make it known. How do we find the border patrol over here? So I don't see the what's border patrol? It must have to be this. Frontier patrol. I knew it had to be that. So that was the only word I didn't know. Man, we'll hit y'all off with the border patrol. Acting like them fools was just coming in. Peace, Chris. I'm reading Sinuhe. It says, then His Majesty sent for a deserving royal agricultural inspector. I'm just trying to get to the one part. Let's read this. Ships were in his retinue. Now, what do they mean by retinue? We have to look at that. It's not the term retinue for the location. This was under his retainer. Laden with gifts of the royal wealth for the Asiatics who had come in my retinue. All right, so behind me, that's your retinue is your group. To escort me to the Horus way. So he had some ships for the Asiatics who came with him to escort him to the way of Horus. After introducing each of them, the Asians by name, he set sail. So he got ghost. So he no longer about to be an Asiatic. He introduced them to each other. After introducing each of them by name, I set sail. Then the servant Da sailed south by ship. Taking the ship was the... Man, I'm just stuck reading. I'm trying to get to one attestation. I bowed my forehead to the ground. That is this particular gesture. Let me see. In the midst, in between. What is this gesture? To bow, to touch the ground with the forehead. The hen. So that came from Egypt too. But we see it in the Islamic tradition to this day. The royal children who had been standing in the doorway came to me, made the approach to me. Dang, this drum roll taking way too long. I'm going to skip through. He was all tired and weak by the time he got to Kemet, though. Then His Majesty said to one of the courtiers, raise him up and let him speak to me. And His Majesty said, you have returned after having fought through the foreign lands because the flight had taken possession of you. You ran, bruh. It had made it advance on you, okay? But you have now become old because you have reached old age. The burial of your body will not be small. Now, I told y'all it was going to be them archers. But see, he didn't. Guess why he didn't let the Magi bury him? Because he wasn't that much a boss. He was a Canaanite. Let me show you. You got to see it sometimes. He didn't let, see the archers right here? And your burial will not be done by the Patati. They messed this up. Your burial would not be small, and your burial would not be done, not done by the archers, but it won't be in the presence of Canaanite archers. Okay? Now, there's another generic term for archer that would not even be patati. We come over here, we see pejatiyu. See the TU on the people, on the bow? So this is people of the bow. If you come into history, this is a cognate. You see this P, this D, and this T. We talk about this often. This is a cognate for Canaanite. Nubians, they messed that up. Don't even trip. We're going to show you another way. P-A-T-A-T-I. Nubian archers. Patati archer. That's a video game, so that's really bad. That's really worse than... See these patati? They were the same ancient Egyptian glyphs that you find over here. The bow, the T, and the Y with the throw stick and the man. Throw stick means foreigner. It don't mean he's used for war. He's a bowman. So patati was Nubians, as they'll tell you here. Now, I thought Nubians wasn't foreigners. We'll talk about all of that. Because you can find a throw stick on even people who are right in Kemet. But along with what we're talking about, this is patati that they was dealing with. So if we go back to the attestation, it say you shouldn't be buried by them Canaanite archers. Prove it. Nubian archers in ancient Egypt that were often requested and dispatched to support Egyptian vassals in Canaan and Canaan. So now we know what he mean. You ain't about to be buried by no patati. That made him feel good. He really said it right here. And your burial would not be done by the archers. That's a bad translation. They should be saying by them Canaanite, them archers that we send to Canaan, to your area. But, so don't act against yourself. So don't act against yourself. For you did not speak when your name was mentioned. Are you afraid of punishment? So he came back creeping and spooked. I answered it with the answer of a fearful one. What does my Lord say to me? He like, what you mean? Am I afraid of punishment? If I answered it, it is not my face, but it is the hand of God. It is the terror that is in my body, like the one who made me fear, made the fateful escape happen. So he be getting spooked and he be wanting to flee. Fight or flight. He got flight. And he telling the Pharaoh now, I'm in front of you now. Life belongs to you. According to his will, yes, your majesty acts. Then his majesty and his royalty. Now here go the funny part. I've been reading this for all this time to see if I was right about the story. It was the king, but it was the king kids who laughed at his ass. Watch that, I'm gonna make it big on the screen. The king kids laughed at him for looking like a damn Asiatic. If we know stuff like this, we would not be online telling people, look, I am in front of you now. Life belongs to you. According to his will, yes, your majesty acts. Then his majesty had the royal children brought in. This is just like a comic book or an Eddie Murphy movie. His majesty had the royal children brought in, and his majesty said to the king's wife. So his majesty said it. Look, Sinuhe has come back as an Asiatic. Damn, it beat the brakes off your damn DNA. Unless you're going to tell me, of course, how do you answer this? And his majesty said to the king's wife, look, Sinuhe has come back as an Asiatic, as a creature of the Bedouins. What they say after that? She let out a scream. But you cannot, you would think I forged this into the damn TLA. But y'all telling me these is the people who did Egypt, who made Egypt. See, I just go look to see what the Egyptians thought about them. And I do the same thing to the people to their south. the people to their east, these are the people to their east, the people to their west, the Mediterranean to their north. So we looking at this. She let out. Why she screaming? Because the Egyptian is now an Asiatic. But look, the king gonna help her out. And his majesty said to the king's wife, look, this fool Sinuhe came back looking like a damn Asian. A Mediterranean. As a creature. But he was a king though. So don't get it twisted. Don't forget. Sinuhe was living lavishly in Canaanite territory. Retinue to be specific. That is Canaanite territory. He was living like a boss. But when he looked, the Egyptians say, look, this boy come back looking like an Asiatic. As a creature of the Bedouins. She let out a very big scream. Get this phone. And the royal children were in Shrek. All the royal children was like, what's the matter with this fool? Let's see what they said in Shrek. This is why for a different word. One. What's the Shrek word? They were shrieking. So everybody, I knew the kids laughed at him too. Yeah, they was crying, bruh. They was crying at the smell of this Asiatic food. See if they ever say that about a Nubian. Ever. We gonna do it? I'm being fair to both sides in this video. The kids start crying, bruh. Then they said to His Majesty, this ain't him, bruh. Y'all didn't even think that reading the primaries will beat the damn brakes off you trying to tell me what the ancient Egyptians thought about Asiatic. That y'all saying the ancient Egyptians was Asiatics. It ain't even him, bruh. Then they said to His Majesty, this can't be him. I'll read the meta-netter. This is just the English. It is not really him. Negation comes in the beginning in meta-netter. So let's go to the transliteration. Jed in, they said, how do they negate this here? They said, Kaf, this is an enemy, opposite. Kefet, what do they have this is? Someone in opposition, in front of. So that's what I mean in opposite. So that's in front of you. In front of them, him, but this is literally him for a servant. His Majesty, no, that's the him for His Majesty, excuse me. Him could also mean a servant or His Majesty. You won't know until you see the hieroglyph. And when you're looking at the transliteration, you don't see the hieroglyph. So they said in front of His Majesty in, now this is just the conjunction in, and then netef. This is a word like he, you see, this is at a different, I don't know how they use that in this time period. Netef pu, but I guess this is working in this time period. That is, or this is just, you should know that is netef pu. That is who is in front of him, mayati. Now, this is another preposition, meaning really or truly, based on the root for to see something, ma'ah. Then you got ma'at for the truth. So ma'ah is the person really standing in front of him. So the person really standing in front of him in front of the sovereign ruler. And they say, then His Majesty say it's not really him. Where do I don't see the not really him. So this was an end of negation. Let's see if this was an end of negation. Yeah, this is an end of negation. Okay? So it's not him. It's not really him. They literally said really too. They say it's not really him because this is the end of negation. Okay? So that is not really him in front of you. So that's how bad they questioning Sinuhe because he came back looking like a damn Asiatic. And then His Majesty said, it is. It's really him. But they had also brought their minute chains and their Bosinstra and the Nahushinstru were in their hands. Then they presented them to his majesty, and they saying, before his majesty, thy hands are fair, long last the king adorned, blah, blah, blah. They start singing because it's really him. Now, eventually he was buried after he passed away as an Egyptian. So what say you, DNA? How would DNA have known that he turned into an Asiatic and lived as an Asiatic for 60 years? Let's go back to the Nubians, because you like, man, he doing that. I'm being biased. Well, let's find during the same time period the inscription. I mean, again, we read these. Nubians and Magi will retreat. I brought turquoise. I reached Nubian and Nessi land and came bowing down. The Nessi came bowing down in fear for the Lord of the two lands. Okay? Now look at this. I struck the Nubian at Kitnefer at the side. This is on their way to Kush. When whoever this dude, he put hands on a Nubian in the middle of the city, is what it winds up saying. Nessi, now remember, I'm not going to act like Nessi is just a southerner. Let's just keep on going. Let's let the context imply what he's saying. Since it's in the center of the city, he put hands on the Nubian. But I know this story too. He was going south to the end of Kush, not even to the beginning of Kush. On his way, he put hands on this Nubian. And I struck the Nubian at Kenkef. All right. See, it's still in the time of this. Simrosets, same dynasty. So we see the same sentiment towards both traditions, Nubians and Asiatics. Southern border established in the reign in year 8 to prevent any Nubian from crossing into the northern direction. Now stop here. In this context, primarily, let me add my handsome effigy to this video, so you can understand what's really going on. Now, to prevent any Nubians from crossing into the northern direction, in this attestation of Simroset, these should always be translated as Southerners. It'll only allow you to understand Simroset's perspective, because remember, that boy Mentuhotep went down to the south and brought back this new term called Kush. Now we know this new Kush to be a powerful polity in the south. So then what he had to do right here was go all the way down to Simna. These stellas are called the Simna stela. If I go up on here, I already know it's what it's going to say, Simna, bro. It's not going to change. So if I got this memorized, it's already memorized. Now on these Simna stellas, Simna is below the second, in between the second and third cataract. You must be late in the video. I ain't did a wiki in hella long. But Simna is below the third cataract. It's in between the second and third. So it makes no sense to think that this means he put a stela up between, let me show Simna. S-E-M-N-A, Sudan. It makes no, look how far Simna is down. Anyone who argues that these stelae, look how far down this is. Well, look, so we way under the border of Egypt is right there, the modern day border. This is all Tasseti that they flooded, so you won't know how it went down. This is Tasseti too, the Tasseti that falls outside of the area of Egypt. If you see, we probably in between the second and third cataract here. And that's what this is going to probably say. Told you, this historical landmark is a cataract. So if we see Segunda, it'll be the second cataract someplace up here. But anyway, similar in between this and that cataract. So now, let me ask you a question. You just got to have common sense. This is the part of Nubia buried under this water. They did it on purpose. This is Egyptian Nubia, the majority of what used to be known as Egyptian Nubia. Outside, right outside of this, so they called it Tasseti, basically. Outside of this was also Tasseti, just because Tasseti is a region. So in this modern day border, some of Tasseti will cross over into Sudan. Now look, Sinroset came from Thebes, but I think he ruled in Memphis, but he had to smash out Mentuhotep and them. So he came from Thebes and went all the way down below the second cataract, where it reads, "Don't let no Nubians pass this line." Now, how could that make sense? See, now you see why we got to look at the text and the map. Let me get back to that. Is this a different text? Hold on. Yeah. Endowed with life forever to prevent any Nubian from crossing in a northern direction. Now, why when they found Nahesi in juxtaposition to north, they translated as southerner in the other instances? Because of that data. Because you found a term that could mean southerner opposite a term that means northern. But in order to push you in the position that they didn't want no Nubians to come, Nubians ain't a thing. I just showed you all of the area that the Nubians lived in. He included in his land. So if you understand this, Stella, as saying southerner, it makes so much more sense to people. Because what you see here is this. Some of these people fought Sinroset and they got their ass captured. Just like if you fight me, you getting your ass captured. It don't matter if you black or white, Nubian, none of that shit. Excuse my language. Dang, I'm going to try to keep these videos clean in the future. So none of that stuff matters if you have a rival. You just got to trip off who the rival is and you categorize them as you look at them. So when he came this far down and said, what did he say? To prevent any Nubians from crossing in this direction, I could strongly argue that this simply means southerner, because the contingency of Nubians that he knew, if you want to make that be a real thing, they lived up here. Above, north of this stele. Feel me? So the people he talking down here, this is all relative to this new term we learned in the 12th dynasty called Kush. These are the people down here called Kushites. He don't want nobody crossing this line, bruh. Not the Nubian line. Why he don't want them crossing? Because they just helped Mentuhotep take control of all of Egypt, and he the family after them, but he ain't down with the priestesses of Hathor. So he say, fuck it, we gonna do it with power. Just don't even cross this damn line. Now let's keep looking. To prevent any Nubian from crossing, any southerner from crossing in the northern direction, whether by land. All right, it's about to be time to eat in a minute. And I thank y'all for all the contributions to the page. I'm not shutting down now. I just always have to get my thank yous in because I feel bad if I do a show and don't even tell the people who contributed to me. Thank you. So to prevent any Nubian from crossing into the northern direction, whether by land, literally, or by traveling by land, whether in a Kush ship, which is a particular type of ship for the Nubians, be it any livestock of the Nubians, except the Nubians. See, this don't mean Nubian. These is all Southerners. Be it any livestock of the South, especially the Southerners who will come to trade in Akin. But let's leave it at Nubian. Except the Nubians who will come and trade in Akin. Since we already know that Nubian ain't just a group, it's a hell of different tribes. The reason why he went down to Semna and put up that stela is to talk to the tribes that were really considered south more than the traditional Nubian. But since there's an option for you translating this Nubian word as Nubian or Southerner, sometimes they merely inject Nubian to make you think they had a problem with the black people to the south. They really had a problem with the power of the kingdom of Kush. And this is the same stele repeated. So let's see if they mention it again in another place. To prevent any Nubian, this is the same stele repeating. You can come over here, you're simply going to see Nehesi. And if I click Nehesi, it's going to say Southerner. But they opt to use Nubian to make you think they're talking about a tribe of black people that can't come to Egypt. All right? But let's take it for face value. He still put that stela way down hella far. So if you say that the Nubians lived in, like, I'm just going to take it for face value, similar way down here. You know that Nubians live all in this damn area. So you see he clearly entered them into the area he considered Egypt. He expanded the borders of Tarseti. Then his son came and expanded it even further, as we'll be forced to see when we keep looking through these attestations, to prevent any Nubian or any Southerner. Now, when I click Asiatic, I'm being fair. I'm gonna do the same thing. They're gonna use the first definition of Asiatic. Let's find Asiatic. This is what I'm trying to show you the difference. Asiatic ain't giving you two options. Oh no, this is the story of Sinuhe. Oh, here it go. Look. Where is it gonna say Asia? Well, that says a better one of the Delta. Well, if I go back to Asiatic, what you'll see is when we click it, the word, it's not gonna say Easterner or Asiatic. It's only gonna say, nah, this means Asiatic all the way 100. Watch. I'm just doing it the slow way. Here it go. See, it only got one definition. But you go to the word for Nubian, they admitting to you that Southerner is what it means primarily. And we made up this word. Now, since you know they made up the word Nubian, right? Nubian doesn't exist in the ancient Egyptian lexicon. So therefore, they want you to think this way. See? Everyone agrees that the word that they telling us meant Nubian was actually this. And no ancient Egyptian ever said Nubian. To say Southerner, they said Nehesi. So let's go back to the text. To prevent any Southerner. So stop thinking that's talking about black people. It's people they was all melanated, and these was people who was even furthermore than the most melanated people in the area. What I mean is the most melanated is Nilotic, not Kushitic. Let me show you, bro. We gotta know all of this. You just see when you say Nilotic, you actually going back to a term. Short for Nilotic Negro. Okay? The Nilotic Negro was evolved from the Mastodon Negro and performs totem ceremonies. But when I go to Nilotic Negro, you're going to see the darkest. I'm going to show you, I would like to show you from a good institution. Right? Don't make me do another wiki, man. Golly. Yale. But I don't want to have to read the whole document. So just pick on images of Nilotic Negroes and watch the darkest people you ever seen in your life be on every image. Right? Why they do me like that? I'm getting up out of there, bro. Let me see. So what I'm saying is the hue of some of our the darkest, besides certain people in India, the darkest hue people that the ancient Egyptians know are considered anthropologically to be Nilos. Now they call these white Nilos. This is so funny. But I don't know how they white because they talking about their head and their cranium. But they actually the darkest people. Why are all these black and white so I can't show you? But, you know, now if we go look at this, just what Nilotic Negro, Nilotic Negro anthropology. Well, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna say Nilotic language group. As you know, languages and their anthropological assessments are attached together, right? So Nilotic related to the Nile. But the Nilotic Negroes, it's funny that Mesopotamians ain't Nilotic. All of this stuff is hella funny. When y'all, like, oh, the Nile go, yeah, but Nilotic runs, all right, let me just show you what I mean. It runs from the south to the north. But anyway, it says Nilotic languages are groups of related languages spoken across a wide area between South Sudan, Tanzania by Nilotic peoples. Right here, you'll see Ethiopia, South Sudan, Congo. But watch what happens. Right under them, if we look on the map, not even under them, but in the area of some of these same people, they going under the Sudan. So let's see how they do this then. Because I must be under the impression that Nilotic went up a little bit higher. But you have to understand, as the Nile goes down, yeah, this some other maps is showing it up a little bit higher, but I'm still in the Horn of Africa and not way up there. Let's look at Kushitic. And we shouldn't confuse language areas with where where the languages come from like where the people come from. But we can still see, now we see Kushitic in almost the same areas too when I was looking up here. But they got those specifically in the Horn of Africa, but slow down. They just dissed you. You see this Beja right here? These are the people that they say are the Magi. So even though we are just now possibly barely crossing the line in Egypt right here, we see some Kushitic languages in the eastern desert all the way to the Horn of Africa. And it seems that I was incorrect, that Nilotic is going down. But why they got this with Kerma, though? It got to go down further down than Kerma. It's just not showing on their little first wiki map. So then by the relationship with his languages, we start to say, okay, these type of people was over here. These type of people was over there. Yo, this has been a long-ass stream. I'm about to go eat. About to go in the kitchen and cook. Play some games now that I feel like I got some work in today. It's the weekend, ain't it? On the weekend, I can get it in with my games and stuff. And my daughter called me. Let me see. Thank you for the Cash App, Rob, man. I don't even know if that was in this show or the earlier show, but I thank you. I seen Pan African James. You hit the join the page today. I appreciate that too. Right now, it seems like time to go watch some video games or something. I don't know. I would have opened up a chat, but I'm just gonna be sitting here lightweight tripping. So I'm gonna go in there and watch some. Oh, the fight today, huh? But I ain't gonna. Am I gonna watch? Did it happen already? Did Tyson Fury already fight? I don't know if Tyson Fury already fought. But I know this was another good show with some good information. I know I got a lot of points that I'm leaving off, but I'll be talking so much. I didn't went through 3 hours without even getting ever to get it in how I was trying to get it in. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Anointed Sadat. I see you for the Cash App. You always appreciate it. People like you keep the show popping. You know what I'm saying? And make it worth that while. And anybody else who gonna get it in when they see the video later, thanks to you too. But yeah, Anointed Sadat, I see Robert. Thank both of y'all. And what I'm about to do, let me open up the games I'm about to play. Let's see what I'm gonna play today. On the way out. Don't leave just yet, we still chilling. Sometimes I have to take a break from talking about the information for so long, and I'll be wanting to go do something recreational. This is one of my football games I'll be playing. One of my teams is dominating right now, and another one of my teams is, well, I got a few teams. One of my teams I've been had so long, they're not doing really good. If we did a good game today, I'm going to be so proud of this team. Because most people would have threw this team away last year. Count the conspiracy theorists. Rainbow Six. I ain't on it like that. I'm about to whip up. I'm going to pick up. See, I still got these connected to my computer. My controllers. So I've been flying missions for the Dark Force to knock out I'm with the Imperial troop. We're going against Luke and them, Luke Skywalker. And I'll be doing pretty good, but I need to get better because it don't line up with my imagination. Like, I can't be getting killed hella much. And I can't play on easy level. But this Compton team, I'm just taking a break. If they won today, I'll be hella happy. Because I'm going to stick with this team and bring them back. Oh, I just played Brother Ray. Brother Ray, who be in the chat. I probably shouldn't show this game because my team is about to scrape him. But I think he's simulating my team because the offense I got in here, he's on offense right now. Brother Ray, who be in the chat, he got the Tampa Playmakers, and I got the Compton Conspiracy Theorists. Look, he going deep on us. That's not going to work. Oh, he caught that. Oh, man. His quarterback rolling out. Now I'm about to turn off the stream and go watch this because it's a good way for me to release again. But thank y'all for everybody who contributed, and thanks to everybody who watching. If you liked or put up a chat, thank you. Good. All right, here, what did he make? Oh my God, Brother Ray. Brother Ray just got a quick touchdown on me real quick. This game is called Goal Line Blitz 2. For your players to get to the level, it's like Tecmo Bowl, but you don't really get to play it. That's why it's hella fun. Every player on the screen has the potential of being a real human somewhere in the world. But me and Brother Ray, I made my own teams, and I think Brother Ray got a lot of his own players. So this is an MMORPG, a massively multiplayer role-playing game, basically. Online role-player game. And so you just build out your players and stuff. Again, I'm just taking a break from all of that damn talking and teaching and no recreation. So I know we're going to mad dog these boys, but he's stopping us pretty good. I just got this offense in that exploits the open field on the right side, as you see. Look at my running backs. They do things. Somebody about to get stiff on. Look, they both couldn't tackle him. My running backs do things. Watch this. Coming through the middle. So if you don't got for mental stability, if you really want to talk about it, hobbies are, oh man, a fumble. Hobbies are really good for mental health, mental stability, and sometimes you kind of focus on something that is trivial, but not for a long time. But because your brain needs that. And if you don't believe that, then you're going to stress out and stuff. Like you got to fish. Fishing is there for more than just feeding the family. You get the fish to give your brain, oh man, he about to bounce that? You get the fish just to give your brain a big long relaxation period. When you're not arguing. I hardly ever seen an argument on a fish. It's a simulation, yeah. I can't really play it. So now at this age, I can't really play too many of the games. I got the ones I play in virtual reality. But we scored. Now they look like they're moving down the field. Yeah, arts and crafts is also parts of mental therapy. And we don't need to be too macho. Bruh, that's how I stay so solid by the brain, because I understand how to give myself mental therapy when I can't take shit. I'm not going to explode. Excuse my language. I'm not going to explode, or I'm just going to not even focus on that and just go into my imagination world where I create all the parameters. That's one good way for mental therapy. Another one is getting into the wilderness. I love getting into the wilderness and nature. I don't have too many conflicts with nature. Sam, Brother Ray, your team seemed to have been doing good today. I'm not about to sit here and watch this because I need to go get me some eat. But again, thank y'all who contributed, and I'm up out of here. Thank y'all for watching. Look, my running back doing things. Let's see what he wound up doing. He gonna bounce this. This is my other running back, fourth quarter Bryce. He's just a speedster. He don't got the moves like Mark Zuckerberg. There go fourth quarter Bryce again. I'm just banging this. Oh, fourth quarter Bryce broke open. I know that's a touchdown. Nobody know how to build players as fast as me. Look. Fourth quarter Bryce, when I seen him get into the open field. See, this is how excited I like to get over things of imagination. Look at fourth quarter Bryce. When he made this cut, when I seen that cut, I knew it was a touchdown. No way in the world that you're building your players as fast as mine. Now, first I'm gonna go open this dude run a 4-2. That's why he fourth quarter Bryce, because he got dumb stamina too. So in the fourth quarter, he just put up big yards. But look at that touchdown. Brother Ray, you at home. Man, getting hands put on. Look, we tied it up. So this offense I thought of, it worked like this. I'm going to exploit your defenses. Oh, I ain't even on this game. I'm going to end this video and go eat and come back and chill by myself. Maybe watch the fight. Let's see what your team do, Brother Ray. Nice run up the middle for Adam Muma. And at 3rd and 5, y'all got shut down. So it's over because we scoring. We got, what's his name? Fourth quarter Bryce on the run back, but he don't see no openings. So he got shut down. Oh, we're going to pitch it wide. Yeah, we're going off tackle. Nothing for fourth quarter Bryce. We're going to throw in Mark Zuckerberg. No, we're going to pitch it out. Oh, it's looking big. If he could get past dude, nope, that would have been another big run. But this is just enough to put us in area. Oh, watch this. He going to truck about 30 people. Watch this. Nope. Well, my halfback is built so crazy on this game that he ridiculous. I want to see him go to work one time before I stop this video. Brother Ray. So I'm going to tell you something how to stop. If you see somebody spamming these plays, spontaneously producing this outside run like this, you will want to tell your team to rock some zones. Because the way they lining up, I'm exploiting that. Look, that blocker going to be there half the time. That stiff arm on good run. So what you need to do is not be blitzing on that strong side. And then I'm going to do that in case y'all get by that, but y'all did that up. All right, people, thanks for watching. This was another good video. Mr. M. Hojep just dropped another DNA video. I'm going to be back tonight until YouTube tell me my numbers is back up. And then you about to go fishing, Rakim? Shout out to you. Catch one for me, put one back for me, keep one and eat one for me. Let me go into this imaginary land and chill. This ain't Tecmo Bowl. It's called, let me show you the game. It's hella raw. This Brother Ray team right here, look. Tampa. They 3-8, but I introduced them to the game. He hired these coaches that ain't me. Fired me a long time ago and went and hired these dudes. But I ain't tripping. I'm glad that you played. They 3-8. My team like 4-8. Like, cause we on the veteran mode, and so I'm gonna show you. I'm 5-6 with my veteran team. But we won. That means we won our real game. Good look. Oh, I beat a good team today. All right, I'm not about to turn this off instantly. Because we beat these boys, Logozilla. Let me show you this offense that I'm making their brain reckon with. First, let's see if I beat Brother Ray now. 48-34. Brother Ray and them beat us. But let me show you this just so you can see. I see what you've been doing. Because if I come right here. Now, Brother Ray might be in the chat right now. But if I come down to my scrimmage games, you see, his team's been getting whooped by my teams over and over again every time he scrimmaged us. So he just like me, he was at the house trying to figure out, look, the Tampa Playmakers beat us right here. This is other team. We still blowing them out. Look, Buffalo. They can't get a win against Compton. Buffalo. We blew their ass out 80-24. That ain't a big deal. Tampa consistently losing to us. And so today, Brother Ray is at home trying to figure out how to beat us. And so since he just beat us right here, that's cool. And you beat us right here. Okay. Soon as I turn off this YouTube, you're going to get them hands. We're going to run some scrimmages, and I'm going to change my offense. But let's look at my real game from today. I don't know how we won it, but I'm hella happy. We beat Logozilla. Let's see how bad we beat him. See how good my offense is. Woo! Oh, it was a wow. This game was 70-63, and we won. Look at Compton coming back. I know the people who played this game love Smash Rock. When I'm into it, I got a whole channel for this. Look at my team. This was a shootout. We about to watch some of this. Now, I wonder why I let my defense let me down and put up 60, let them put up 63. But my offense ain't no punk. Brendan. Ooh, Brendan with 450. Oh, he got, okay, 2 kick return touchdowns. The fight getting ready to start. I ain't gonna go buy it though. Should I buy it and support? I'm cool. I ain't buying that. Oh, I got a way to go watch it. I'm tripping. I'm about to go watch the fight. Peace. I got everybody need to know. If you ain't got your, I ain't even gonna say it on YouTube. All right, I'm out. I'm about to go watch the fight, and then I'm gonna come watch this game after this. We hella happy we won this. Now the game I was gonna tell y'all is an MMORPG. You won't even get raw at this game until 2 or 3 years. Brother Wade probably started playing like 6 months ago, and since he's still playing, I could tell he dedicated. Because he in the cliques with all the other people that really play this, not like me. So the game is called Goal Line Blitz, GLB2. It's hella fun. If you think you're a football strategist, then play. Madden, this is way different than Madden though. This is all strategy. You don't actually get to touch the sticks. So let me show you one of my running backs. That dude that I said cats don't build running backs like me. I shouldn't be showing this, but look what that boy run. A 4-6. Wait, where it go? Look what he run. Oh, that's his build. So I messed it all up. Look, he run a 4-2-6. So it's even hard to build a character on this game who will be able to ever get you to a 4-2-6. So when you're watching them games, I know I'm gonna go just look. You can just go look at your opponent's defense and see if they got anybody on the defense that could look at the Tampa playmakers. This is Brother Ray. And so I'm just going to look through your defense right now because they won't let me see all of their stats, but they'll let you scout their combine. So look at his cornerbacks. And this not even him. He run a 4.87, and this dude got his build open. So I'm just going to go on and look at it since he got his build open. This is a zone player. Brother Ray. And so if you rocking with this dude, obviously you know it's best to have him in the zone. You need to run some defenses like cover 3s, which will allow him to be a cornerback that stay in the zone all the time. But out of the 53 times he got targeted, he gave up 45 receptions. I don't rock with cornerbacks like that. No disrespect to him, even though he's a star player. But you got to look at stuff like that. And so let's look at this other cornerback who is made by Brother Ray. And let's see. Out of 72 times they threw it to him, he got 55 receptions that he allowed. Okay, that's a little better, but it should get to halfway for them to be a good cornerback. So you got to build these players, and how you build them is by giving them these points, skill points. They get a little bit after every game. And then you go from rookie to sophomore, blah, blah, blah. Doing this is helping me get my brain off of what I was just talking about and feel better. Now, I do have a player on your team, Brother Ray. Let's see how good he's been doing. He's an offensive tackle. See, he's weak. I told you he was going to be weak, but I need to do this. He's weak. He got 13 pancakes. He gave up 15 sacks. Godly, take him out of your lineup. He couldn't even make it for my teams. So he's making it harder on your quarterback. But as we look at this defense, again, if you ain't got no speedsters on the defense, it really ain't nobody. Look, 4.88, that's pretty fast for a linebacker. But your corners, this corner running a 5.11. How you doing that? I don't know. And this corner is running a 4.68. That's pretty fast. But look at my running back, man. He ran a 4.2. So let me show you how I built this dude. If you ever want to reduplicate him, here go the trick. When you go, let me show you how this game works. Unless you pay some money to get it to work a different way. When you go to make your first player, it's gonna be like this. Look. And then I'm up out of here. Create a player. I'm gonna go kick it with my family and watch the fight. I know it's probably on. He got knocked out already. Now, when you go to create a player, it looked like this. Your first player you can make for free. I still got a free player. I'm about to make one. Say you wanted to make a halfback. This all they show you. This how the game's so raw. You got to spend time. I just picked the name Jake Kim. We're going to make him not big. We want him to be short. He 5'6", but he going to be 220. So he a big boy. Now, he dark-skinned. That's just how I rock. Well, not all the time, but this time he dark-skinned. Now, in order to make your player, they only give you these elementary attributes that he's going to start out with as a rookie. And you got to know how to line this up in order to have his potential be better than other people's. So if he's a running back, what I like to do to build some good running backs out the gate, unless he's going to be a power rusher, I'm going strength 0. I'm going agility 10. Confidence 0 or 1, stamina 10. Now, depending on what type of runner this may be going maybe 5 rounds. All right, I want to watch it back. I got something where I can watch it live or watch it back on my TV. So I'm good. Let me see now. Strength, awareness. His awareness, if you want him to be a really good runner, you want his awareness at 10. So put the stamina at 8. But speed, you can almost take down to nothing. If you want him to be a speedster like my dude, you're going to have to sacrifice his agility or carry awareness. I never really want to sacrifice agility. My dude only got like a 5. Well, let's go look. So this is how you would really rebuild him, really recreate him. If he was anybody, but he's not like nobody. So he got a 1, 10, 10, 3, 6, 5. So if I come over here and give him a 1, 10, 10, 10 stamina, 10 speed, if I come over here and give him that, he will have the potential to be as good as my other player. 10 and 10 in stamina. So what did he have again? A 1, 10, 10, 3 in awareness, 6 in agility, and 5 in confidence. Awareness, agility. Yep. Now, this is a duplicate of that other player, probably not his height, but he don't got the same traits. Traits also help you with what you're doing. So since I put 10 in stamina and 10 in speed, he wants to be fast. So you got to pick traits that's going to help him be faster than other people on the field. I'm just showing you, it takes years to learn this shit I'm talking about. And sometimes you got to buy these players if you got as many as I do. So it takes years and money. In order to make a quick dude that's going to be hella raw like my dude over there, let's see what he averaging. This dude right here. He's an early bloomer. I could have took this trait off. He's an egoist and he's a prodigy. So I would come over here and click egoist, prodigy, and early bloomer. Now, when I said I could take this trait off, look, early bloomer adds a 5% lower to buy any skill, but you get a 10% negative on your maximum potential. Round 1 getting ready.